It's time for Twit This Week in Tech. What a great panel. It's going to be kind of conversational today because it's so much fun to talk to Devindra Hardawar, senior editor from Engadget, Jennifer Patterson-Toohey, who is a home automation expert at The Verge, and of course, Doc Rock, our aloha man from Hawaii. Jennifer and Devindra are getting excited about CES. We'll take a look at what they expect, including Matter updates. Does Matter really matter? Big screen TVs, less expensive than ever before. We'll also talk about Australia's plan to ban social networks for people under 16. Could that possibly work? It's all coming up next on This Week in Tech.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Twit, This Week in Tech, episode 1008, recorded Sunday, December 1st, 2024. Internet legal. It's time for Twit This Week in Tech, the show where we get together with the week's best journalists to talk about the week's best news. Actually, you guys have been the best journalists for more than a week. Let's say hello.
Hope so.
That was a slip. Let's say hello to Jennifer Patterson-Toohey. She works at The Verge, where she's the home automation mama, smart home mama. Hi,
hello,
Jennifer.
hello.
Welcome back.
Hi. Thank
Jennifer's
you. Very
a
happy
regular
to be back.
on Tech News Weekly, and we somehow managed to lose her number and couldn't get you back on Twitter. But we got it, thanks to Micah. So great to have you. Doc Rock is also here, the doctor of the Rockter. He's director of strategic partnerships at Ecamm, which has nothing to do with why he's on. He's on because Man U did something good.
Yeah, we did. We actually won a game.
They won a game, ladies and gentlemen. Congratulations. Okay. And no, you're on because we love you. We do use Ecamm. We're using Ecamm right now in the cloud, but that's a complete coincidence. Good to see you,
I love what you guys did. It's so I'm trying to explain it to people and their head blown because they don't understand. But I'm like, it's kind
so
of
we run Ecamm on a Macintosh in the cloud at Mac Stadium and splash top into it, and then there's something to do with Restream that I don't understand. That streams it to 8 different platforms. It's crazy. Anyway, before we get into that, Devindra Hardawar is also here. We love Devindra, senior editor at Engadget. Hello, Devindra. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Happy to be back. Yeah.
A lot of times you're on when I'm not here because you're kind of one of my regular esteemed fill-in people. So it's nice.
Always fun. Yeah, I can really just like phone it in now, right? I could just relax.
You should relax.
Join the conversation.
That's God knows I've been doing that for 20 years. Nothing wrong with that. Biggest story of the week is that Australia has done what everybody else has been waiting and wondering. They've banned social media for everyone, banned it for everyone under 16. Doesn't go into effect until next year. I mean, next year. Like it's a year away. But still, that's a big deal. I'm sorry this New York Times has decided to keep me out of here.
Every news site does this. Yeah,
I am a subscriber, by the way. I'll sign in and then we'll be able to see the story. Unclear. Even the Australian Parliament or whatever they've got there says we're not sure how this is going to be enforced, but it's up to the social media networks to figure it out. Is this a good idea?
It feels a lot like a kind of this is a warning. You guys need to sort this out. It's going to get. Or we're gonna really crack down because there's no penalties for the people that sign up. This is all designed to penalize the companies. So if this feels a bit like grandstanding to some extent, like a warning, like you need to shape up or ship out. Very straightforward Australian people. They they don't pussyfoot around.
It sailed, according to the New York Times, sailed through the Parliament in the lower house on Wednesday, passed the Senate on Thursday. Prime Minister has said it puts Australia at the vanguard of efforts to protect the mental health and well-being of children from the detrimental effects of social media, such as online hate or bullying. They have to take reasonable steps.
Again.
They'll never be bullied again. They have to take reasonable steps, or the corporations will be fined about $32 million for systemic failures to implement age requirements. You know, these guys make so much money that 32 million isn't. They might just say, yeah, fine, whatever. We'll pay the fine. Devindra, is it possible? This is the real question. We talked about this a little bit last week. Is it possible to do age checks without violating the privacy of everyone who uses the medium?
I don't really think so. Like we've been, seeing this reports of this happening for a while, but also this same conversation happens around like limiting porn access in the US in some states too. And it is from what I've seen from the researchers, like it is kind of impossible to do that without infringing on other rights or making the experience more complicated. And also I think this whole thing kind of just misses the point, right? Like because kids have had access to this stuff for a while. It's really hard to just say, no, this is impossible now, especially when you're not putting any restrictions on it. And I feel like it misses the point of what they really need is to just really push these companies to be better rather than limiting it altogether. I think it's just like an easy fix to assume like, okay, you're making the internet safe for these kids. Kids are going to find a way around this stuff. They want to talk to their friends in other countries. So this is not really much of a fix, but it'll make the adults and the politicians in Australia feel better about themselves, I guess.
I remember when I was a kid that it was generally considered really horrendously damaging to kids that they would watch hours of TV every day.
This is what it feels like to me. It feels like our generation's television. It's like
or rock and roll,
rotting your brain. The previous generation's music. Yeah,
it's like prior to that.
This is rotting your brain. To be fair, though, this social media is a little bit more intense and pervasive than TV or rock and roll. But it does feel like it has a similar kind of this generation. This is what we're dealing with, and I think, my point about this being sort of, a warning shot is I think Australia knows, and the countries that have explored this know that there isn't really anything you can legislate here, but you do need to create this sort of a sense of we need to fix what's broken about these platforms because there are so many benefits. I mean, when I was last on, Leo, we talked about this. I think we were talking about TikTok because there was something similar was happening, but there are so many benefits to social media and the internet and allowing children online, but there are obviously significant downsides and things that have to be policed and managed by either parents or communities or the government in this case. But, how you do it and what the detriment also is of some kind of law like this, like, are you going to, like you say, people have friends and connections that they may lose, and that can have a negative benefit on people just as much as cutting them off offline. And it's not just social media too. I mean, I think YouTube is not included in this. Messaging groups are not included in this. So it feels like a sort of needle in the haystack to some extent. We're going to target this one area and say it's bad, you're not allowed on it until you're 16, and then but you can go to YouTube and you can online message with your friends. So it's sort of putting the I feel like putting the cart before the horse. Let's come up with. There's plenty of great analogies that we could come up with, but in some sense, I'm as a parent with 16 and 13-year-old children, I appreciate that people are making an effort here to address some problems and bring attention to problems that social media is creating. But this type of blanket ban is not a solution.
Imagine if Australia,
but it creates conversation.
Imagine if Australia had announced a ban for television for kids under 16 in 1967. Yeah, no television for kids under 16. The difference this time is that it's technology, and there's something a certain group of people feel technology have this kind of attitude towards it like it's dangerous magic. But I don't think it's any different than TV or radio or...
Yeah.
You know what the big difference is, though, here is that it is isolating. And it is individual. So you are on a phone.
Watching Gilligan's Island wasn't isolating?
But you would maybe watch with your friends or your family. Yeah, whereas social media, it's this, isn't it? It's the generation that is just this.
This generation, though, says, I am socializing. Women, so this is where my friends are on Instagram. That's who I'm talking to, much more so than somebody sitting next to me on the couch being a couch potato. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Doc Rock.
No, I was saying, like, okay, back then, when Gilligan's Island was a thing and Batman and all of those shows, I was the only male in my household. So I watched it in the basement by myself. And I
There you
spent a
go.
lot of time down
Look
there
what happened to
by
him.
Yeah. So I do feel that, yes, I understand why people think the tech is scary, but a lot of that has to do with, in the U.S. at least, it's our education system. Because when we had opportunity, when like people like Leo and I dove into tech when we were young, everybody else thought we were absolutely insane. This is crazy. The internet's a dangerous place, whatever. And in the U.S., honestly, the media treated it as dangerous up until they all got their own sites and became part owners of these media companies. And then they stopped saying how scary it was, and everything on the news about at the end was go to our website, go to our social media accounts. So the parents, a lot of them, still have that it's a dangerous place heavily mired in their brain, because that's the way it was up until about early 2000s. So there's that. And then, well, all I do for my niece, I personally don't have any kids, but for my niece, we just tell her, we protect her self-esteem and we teach her to have some self-worth. And kids with good self-esteem don't get bullied.
Does it change your attitude if you know that Rupert Murdoch is the guy behind this, as he is the guy behind every damn thing that happens terrible in Australia?
100%, because he has a monetary investment to get you back to his forms of
Watch
media.
Fox.
And not
Don't.
new media.
You could argue Fox does more to harm your brain than Instagram.
Absolutely.
In May, Rupert Murdoch's News Corp, Australia's biggest newspaper publisher, began an editorial campaign to ban children under 16 from social media. This came straight from them, called Let Them Be Kids. Through the middle of this year, News Corp mastheads in the parliamentary inquiry aired emotional accounts from parents. My child has lost their life due to bullying. This is scandalously wrong. Now, on Wednesday, Paris Martineau, who writes for The Information, brought up the article she wrote for The Information last weekend about a company called Yachty, which uses AI to estimate age. And this is something that certainly Yachty would very much like to have happen in the U.S. as well as in Australia. OnlyFans uses Yachty. TikTok uses Yachty. The idea is when it looks at you, it says, oh, you're under 16. No more for you. By the way, Louisiana is doing this. They have age verification. I think it's for porn specifically. But let's say that this technology existed, that you somehow, and I'm skeptical, could accurately identify somebody's age by looking at them. Like to the precision that you could say, okay, you're under 16, you can't use this. Would it then be okay if we could do this in a privacy-forward way?
I would really wonder about where that data is coming from. You know, there's just so much else involved when you're making these considerations.
Well, they admit they don't work very well on Asian people.
There's gonna be a lot of gaps. Yeah, there's gonna be a lot of things your data set is not looking at. It just depending on the type of person, depending on how wealthy you are, you may look younger than somebody else. So no, I would not have faith that this would.
Facebook
really
is using Yachty. TikTok is using Yachty. That's going to be everywhere.
This all just feels like a distraction,
I always get
right?
quoted 8 to 10 years younger than I am, which is good. But
I'd say you're 37.
see, that's what I'm saying, Leo. You guys nailed it. Yahtzee. As somebody put in the chat, Yahtzee.
I've always been quoted older because I've had like gray hair since I was a teenager. So I'm gonna like mess up all these AI filters,
Well, Jennifer, you're the one with kids this age. You're the one with one kid who would pass and one kid who wouldn't pass.
Well, and my youngest has just become technically internet legal, right? Because we, in theory, 13 is the youngest you're allowed to be.
Internet legal.
Internet legal.
Oh,
it's funny.
my God.
I get little things keep popping up like Meta Quest. Like I get things saying, oh, now that your child is 13, they're allowed access to this, this, and this. And so my whole sort of internet landscape for her has suddenly opened wide up. Not that she wasn't already on a lot of these things, although I've never let her have an Instagram account. I'm not a fan of Instagram.
She doesn't currently have an Instagram account.
No, but she, and my son does use TikTok, but he doesn't post. She's
just
not been
looks at it.
allowed. He just looks at it. Yes, he's the scroller.
That's what I do, by the way.
And one thing I had, my daughter's very creative and we just got a kitten, and I had sort of said to her, well, if you're interested in using social media, let's maybe do something creative.
Kitty account.
So we wanted to, create an account, because the main thing she likes to look at TikTok when she looks with me is at the cat videos.
You know what, Jennifer? That's kind of brilliant because she gets to do it. She gets to participate. But anonymously as a kitty.
Right. Not putting
I like
herself
that.
out
And
there.
be creative and all that.
Yeah, and that's the thing I like. I mean, she
it
loves...
puts that spin, right? I teach my niece and nephew, they're both internet legal. That's funny. I never heard that before.
It's a great phrase.
I teach them, you have to create more than you consume. Now, that's easy coming from a creator, and I'm the Funko, so I'm like, yeah, you guys can be on the platform, but you have to create more than you consume. So my nephew makes beats and dance videos because he's a professional dancer. He's been on TV the whole 9 yards. And my niece, she's not ready yet. So
aren't we glad that Tipper Gore did not ban video games for people under 16?
I lived through that.
Oh my
Yeah.
God.
We went through that. We thought that was going to ruin that generation.
It was I lived in Connecticut in the 90s. Who was it? Was it Lieberman? Like one of
Joseph
them was just-
Lieberman.
yeah,
Oh,
always about the video games and how evil video games are. And I don't know, spending a lot of time on the internet and playing games got me where I am today. So
It feels like demonizing technology and demonizing the internet is really for political game, not because they really care. That's what it feels like to me.
yeah.
I mean,
Out of sync
I
in
think
our
that's
Discord.
That's very true, except for, as a parent, I have seen where there can be harms. And, there are downsides to every technology. There was downsides to rock and roll. There was downsides to television. And, I think it's always important to keep that dialogue open and to be looking for solutions when problems arise. I agree a blanket ban here is not, one, achievable, or two, really going to help because kids find the way around very easily.
Well, the Australian government says, we understand that. We don't care.
We don't care. But, social media has, we went through the pandemic too, which sort of hyper realization for social media because that was the only way people could communicate. So for my children's generation, so they've grown up with social media and it became the primary way they communicate. My son doesn't text message his friends. He Snapchats them.
Right. This is his social. This is how he's social.
Yeah. So but also the flip side, I think the danger, and I haven't seen it with my son because he's social in real life, but is when social is just digital and you don't go out and you don't, you use that as the crutch because it's so easy for children, especially, we seem to have, I saw a comment in the chat that there's been no proof that social media has any negative effect on people's emotions. And there's research on both sides, but I think it's so much easier to create personas on social media and be who you want to be. It's so much easier.
You
than
think
in
kids
real
don't
life.
do that in high school?
But the point is, it's a lot easier.
I was
to
a
do
drama kid. I had a persona, believe me.
But when you're in, it's a lot easier to hide behind the screen and then when you go into real life, be a completely different person or be shy and not. And so I the healthy balance is the important thing.
But I think that's the parents' job, and you do a good job of it, right?
That was what I was coming to.
Okay.
This is really down to the parents and the education of the parents, not so much the children, because we did not grow up with this. The generation that grew up with social media will be having children in the next 10, 15 years and maybe sooner. And that we don't have the tools as parents to really understand the impact it's having because we haven't seen the long-term effect. We just see these awful stories about terrible accidents or terrible things that happen to people that people connect to social media when in fact there could be many other extenuating circumstances. But the internet loves a good headline about that, and that's sad. So we see this a lot. And I find that, as a parent, when you see someone saying, well, my son was driven to do this because of being bullied on social media, you can see why they're going to the social media was the problem, not the people. And the parents have to be educated and they have to learn how to manage these types of things. I mean, one of the things I do is I use a program called Bark, which monitors my children's social media accounts and their messages and other things, and sends me alerts when it comes across what it considers potentially concerning content. What it tells me can be quite often pretty useless, but sometimes it'll come out with, something that was like, okay, now I need to go talk to my daughter about this or my son about this. And those types of tools are useful. You kind of have to fight technology with technology, but I just don't think a lot of parents know about these things and are using these tools. So, yes, it's about educating the parents. And this is what I was saying about earlier on. This is opening that dialogue.
Do you remember Stranger Danger?
Oh, yes.
I feel like there's a whole generation that grew up never playing outside because their parents were convinced that there was a stranger looking around every corner ready to kidnap and abuse their child. Well, I think that did more to isolate kids and create weird kids than the internet did. And it was BS. The biggest danger to kids then and now is people they know, relatives and parents. And so to me, it's tragic because we have invented something very powerful with technology. And I think that the problem is it scares some people. And these people are playing upon our fears and their own fears to damage something that could be incredibly useful.
I don't want to take social media side on this. Yeah, there are some benefits to it as well. I use it every day. This stuff is scary. Like, we should be aware of what we're doing and how we're using it and how our kids are doing. And I think that's the important line to toe here, because there has been a lot of research, in the past saying like, oh yeah, Instagram has affected teen girls in some ways or other kids in some ways.
Yeah, but
and then there's counter research saying that that's overblown too. And it's like, clearly something is happening and you just need to be aware as a parent. But the problem is,
they should ban Mean Girls in high school. That's what they should ban.
I mean, ban mean people
humanity.
in general.
Yeah, ban humanity.
People. Basically, I mean, we are currently building a new administration of just meanies and jerks. So,
get ready.
Who knows? Who knows? We can't ban everything.
Jennifer, you use this Bark app, which is cool. Bark.us. How much is it expensive?
Yeah, I think I want to say it's like $12 a month.
It's a little pricey.
Quite a lot.
Oh, and they have a watch. Some people won't be able to afford this.
And it's quite frustrating because the iPhone has very it doesn't work well with the iPhone. So see,
it's my opinion
had it for a while, so I might be grandfathered in. And it covers any device that they use. So phones, watches, computers. As I said, it's difficult. The iPhone's restrictions make it hard for it to examine some platforms,
it can't work.
But it can. It's got this weird thing. They have to enter their passcode to allow it to access. So every sort of 10 minutes or 20 minutes, their phones will be like, enter your passcode. And my kids are like, this is really annoying. I was like, okay, it's this or an Android phone. So
isn't it also...
that would be child abuse.
So I think that's really the solution, not governmental regulation, but that these social media apps and the platforms they're running on the iPhone and Android phones should do a better job of giving parents control.
Parental controls. And I think that's what we were talking about last time, is TikTok had just come out with some more robust parental controls, because some of the platforms really do have very poor restrictions that you can implement. Like, I can actually control my son's TikTok account and control his feed in as much as you can control a TikTok feed, like refresh it to get rid of certain things. And those are all new features that you can get. So Instagram does not have great parental controls. I think they just recently announced new ones that they were bringing.
They now have a teenager account.
Yeah. So that's what we need to see more of. We need to see better parental controls, and parents need to be able to go in and change settings. And like, also, you have parental controls on the iPhone, so you can limit time restrictions on apps. And Android has something similar. Again, kids get around them, so you have to always be on top of it, which is a full-time job. But it's it's important.
Jennifer, with three people who probably would be the kids who would have gotten around.
Oh, absolutely.
100%.
Didn't hurt us that bad, right? In fact, in a way, maybe it taught us how to use computers.
Yeah.
I am taking that learning towards my oldest child is just 6 years old now. So this is a 10-year from now problem for me or so. But to what you were saying, Leo, like I don't think it's just government regulation for a lot of things, for dangerous things, has been helpful on the whole for society.
Sure,
so,
I'm
like,
in
the
favor of seatbelts.
Yeah, the danger is, but the companies weren't. You know, if we left it up to the car companies, we'd be flying through windows left and right. But it is like over-regulation. I think something like a full-on ban of an entire suite of apps and software just seems a bit overblown. Like this is not going to last in Australia, but hopefully they and we all come up with some sort of solution, because I think these companies, I look at Mark Zuckerberg now and his new glow up, and I'm like, you just don't care. You actually, your solution to living a better life is just to stop caring about Facebook and Instagram and what's actually happening. He's all about metaverse and AR and everything. His whole like new life philosophy is essentially like, just don't bother with all the negativity that people are
don't apologize.
Don't apologize. Right? Yeah.
There's actually a creepy strain among the Silicon Valley billionaires of Jeff Jarvis calls it TESCREAL. That's the acronym. But the point of it is primarily doesn't matter. This generation doesn't matter. What really matters is we get to the stars and that the generations down the road. So they're willing to sacrifice everything in order to create AGI, go explanatory, and all of that is for the future generations. It doesn't. And in order to get there, by the way, it's very close to eugenics. Maybe it's not a bad thing if we prune out some of the current people.
It's absolutely eugenics.
It's eugenics. That's why Elon Musk says have more kids, but not if you're, not in the approved categories. So it's creepy as hell. The other thing I would say is important is that kids are growing up in a world with social media. They're going to grow up in this world. Isn't it a disadvantage, a little bit of a disadvantage, if they don't get access to it till they're 16? They're not learning the skills. Wouldn't it be better if they learned the skills of how to manage it, how not to overuse it, how to use it appropriately?
Leo, I want to chime on this one as a hood kid. You know why I don't use terminologies like sketchy neighborhoods? First of all, I hate that because it's a little bit, I'm going to just call it racist when people say this neighborhood is
you know what they mean. I know what
exactly
they mean when they say sketchy.
But as a hood kid, I can go into any neighborhood in anywhere in any country and I'm good. Why? My neck's on the swivel. I know how to hold myself. I know how to carry myself. I am pretty much not in any danger. Why? Because I was exposed to it and learned how to mitigate these circumstances as opposed to be fearful of it and hide from it. So
not that I would ever advocate any kid be brought up in those kind of rough circumstances.
Hey, it was the 80s in DC and New York, not for the weak of heart.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
But what that has allowed me to do as an adult is I live a primarily fearless life, and living a primarily fearless life has allowed me to succeed in many other categories where everybody was afraid to go into. I was always able to go into stuff that other people would be scared of, including us staying in tech. Honestly, back then when everybody was scared of tech, we were fearless of tech. So we went in and we learned all of these things, and now we're able to mitigate these things. So this is a catch-22 because I have friends who are super, super tight-lipped about stuff around their kids. And I have the friends that they're like, I'm not going to hide swearing in front of my kids. They're going to hear it in the real world, but they will never say that to me, right? They would never address me or insult any other adult. I find the kids who raised in the house where that's not taken away from them, they're very respectful. The kids where it's taken away from them, when they get a chance to, they want to try and they want to explore.
You get the opposite,
right? They want to
you?
try things that were taken away from them.
My wife was raised in a household where she wasn't allowed to listen to Ozzy Osbourne and Black Sabbath. As a result, and it drives me crazy, she's still a big fan of hair metal bands. And it's driving me crazy.
I can just see her with her hair teased out. Don't tell her I said that. I tried to tease
Ozzy
my hair
any
out
chance
and it
she
went
can
too
get.
far.
So there's an unintended consequence.
And honestly, we're not talking about sugar. We're not talking about fat. We're not talking about the horrible things that are really bad because we're sidetracked by this stuff. So I even believe, like, if you check the studies, as Dev said, they're on both sides. Who paid for the study? When you read a study, always go to the back and see who paid for the study before you go all in on what they say.
Yeah.
Simple.
I agree with you. Thank you, doctor. You're not a doctor for nothing. Actually, for people who don't know, you kind of were a doctor, weren't you? I
was
Afghanistan.
a paramedic in the army. Yes. Yeah. No, I didn't go to. I was in Kuwait. I didn't go to Afghanistan.
Kuwait. Right,
I was at that point old.
You are older than you look. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I'm gonna just keep the 37 though. Keep it down, Leo. This Privacy Act.
I celebrated a birthday on Friday, and it wasn't
Friday.
It was,
Happy birthday.
Wasn't a happy.
Oh, you're a Thanksgiving-ish baby.
Yeah, Thanksgiving-ish. That's me.
Keep moving around Thanksgiving.
Yeah. Anyway, good conversation. I think there are a lot of issues here. I think you're right. We got to protect kids from sugar too. But I think that's the parents' job, right? And I hate to see the Australian government say, no social media for you. Maybe Jennifer, you're right in a way that this isn't intended to become a law. Because you see TikTok and Instagram and others already kind of making some progress in parental controls. Maybe it's just to scare them a little and get them to do the right thing.
I hope that's what it will do, because I honestly don't see that this would be feasible. I mean, there's so many bans on so many things, but people get around. And this is, as we've said, has benefits, has negatives. But if, the fear of regulation generally is what creates the sort of incentive in companies to fix the problems that they've identified. There's no doubt that there are problems with social media that need to be addressed. And hopefully this type of legislation coming from countries and laws that we may see in other countries too. I don't think Australia is alone. And I know Britain has sort of looked quite seriously into regulation and law for social media. And we have it here. You have to be 13. So, I mean, it's not like this is completely out of left field. So I think hopefully we'll see the platforms step up to address some of these issues. But ultimately, it's not just down to the technology. This is it's social, it's societal. We all have to kind of help mitigate the harms, and it does. Yeah. If it's kids we're worried about, it's got to start with the parents.
COPPA, which sets the age 13, doesn't say you can't use it. It says that they can't gather information about you. It's a very different kind of law that I think is a good thing, right? You shouldn't. We shouldn't advertise sugary sweet cereals to children, and we shouldn't gather information about them when they sign up for platforms. But
you're not technically allowed to sign up for Facebook if you're
at all.
No.
Well, that's Facebook's response to COPPA, which is
right.
Look, all right. In that case, don't be using our site if you're under 13. What they could say is, okay, we won't collect information on you, but they decide that's a little too hard.
There's no fun in that for them.
That's a bridge too far for us. Jennifer Pattison Toohey is here. Great to have you, JPT. She's on The Verge. Do you do their podcast, right?
Sometimes? I'm on the Vergecast occasionally. Yeah. Yes, especially whenever there's something about matter.
Does matter matter?
Does matter?
That's a question.
Yeah. So smart home, anything sort of connected home automation, IoT. That's sort of my realm, and nice. Also on the Twit network once a month on Tech News Weekly with Micah.
Micah Sargent.
Always a lot of fun.
Love having you on. From Engadget, Devindra Hardawar, who is going to CES. You're crazy, man. Is CES still a thing?
It's still a thing. I mean, I have not been since before the pandemic, but
really
sending smaller teams, basically. And I think a lot of sites have done this, but this year we're making a bigger push at Engadget, and I kind of miss seeing the new stuff that we need to write about for the following year. So especially when it comes to TVs, other devices like laptops and stuff, it's nice to get a hold of these things so I can tell people if it's good or not, or interesting or not.
Well, we'll talk about that when we come back. I think that's I'm glad to hear it's still around. And Doc Rock, who is joining us from the Aloha State in beautiful Honolulu, where it is, you have an advantage in the advent of code. Do you realize that? You joined me last night as I was trying to solve the first problem, which ships at midnight Eastern, which means people who want to get on the leaderboard have to solve at midnight, or if you're in the UK at 4 a.m. or something. It's not too bad here, 9 p.m. But you're 5 hours ahead of us?
I'm 3 hours behind you. So
3 hours behind us. So it's like dinner time when it comes out. That's nice.
It was like 8 o'clock when you were jumping off last night.
That.
So
I love that.
Yeah, I can cheat a little bit.
I'm gonna do that again tonight, 9 p.m. Pacific. I'll stream it on my channel and on YouTube and so forth, because it's kind of, I think it's kind of fun. It's risky for me. It's like going around naked. It's like I may be a complete idiot. Watch and find out. Doc Rock is with Ecamm. It's great to have you. And of course, you have your own YouTube channel, youtube.com/Doc Rock.
Thank you. And you know, it's funny. We just had this whole conversation about social media. And what I've done for the last month was I basically made a video every day for 30 days. And I tried to do them unedited and unpolished. And I wanted to be as natural as possible.
That's my specialty.
Now my Gen X people are starting to be afraid because they think they need to edit everything from watching the kids in these perfect videos. And I'm like, no, man, we already passed all of that. We got blemishes we can't get rid of. So let's just be us and share what we know. So I've been making a lot of videos super unedited and
I love that.
Putting it into work.
It's one of the reasons we do stuff live on Twit. And I've always done stuff live on radio and TV to do the minimum amount of editing, to kind of let it all hang out. And I was looking back at the video I made last night. I was thinking, boy, I would like to cut out that 20 minutes of wasted time. I would like to tighten that up. But no, we go out there as we are. Doc Rock, at Doc Rock on YouTube. He's a thinker, a creator, a maker. I'm you. I love that. What a great slogan. Very nice.
I love the unedited type of, because there's too much polish now in social media and YouTube. And I love it when it's the personalities and the connection that you can feel with when you're listening or watching someone. I mean, I've been listening to Twit for a long time. And, it was one of my first podcasts. And I just, you really feel like you're listening to friends talk as opposed to watching TV or a radio show where it's produced and polished. And that sort of connection, I think, is something that social media, the internet has really helped.
And there's another side to that. I watch my son, who's a TikTok star and Instagram star. He's a YouTube cook, and it kills you. All of that editing to create all that content every day, it's just not tenable. The people who do that a few years in, they're burning out. It's just not good. So I've been in this for the long haul.
Authenticity is so key. Authenticity makes things,
I agree. Makes the world go round. I appreciate it. Great to have you three very authentic people with us today on This Week in Tech. We'll go to CES in just a little bit. But first, a word from our sponsor, This Week in Tech, brought to you this week by NetSuite. All right, I think probably some of you are in business, right? You have a company, and you probably wonder, this future, this thing that's coming down the road at us, what is going to happen? Ask 9 experts, you're going to get 10 answers. Rates are going to go up. Rates are going to go down. Inflation is going to rise. Inflation is going to fall. Can somebody just give me a crystal ball and get it done with? How about a magic 8-ball? Well, until then, over 38,000 businesses have future-proofed their business with NetSuite from Oracle, the #1 cloud ERP, bringing together accounting, financial management, inventory, and HR into one fluid platform. And there's an advantage to having it a single platform. With one unified business management suite, there's a single source of truth, right? Plus, you can see right into what's going on. You've got the visibility and the control you need to make quick decisions. With real-time insights, real-time forecasting, it's as if you're peering into the future and you're getting actionable data that gives you the answers you need so that you can act with some authority, right? Because when you're closing the books in days, not weeks, you're spending less time looking backwards, more time on what's next. That's pretty awesome. Tell you what, I wish I needed an ERP solution, because this is the one I'd use. Speaking of opportunity, there's a lot of great stuff on the NetSuite site, including the CFO's Guide to AI and Machine Learning. You can get that right now for free. netsuite.com/twit. That's netsuite.com/twit. The guide is free. So just go in there, fill out the form, and download it. And I think you'll find a lot of great insights in there. netsuite.com/twit. Thank you for your support, NetSuite. We appreciate it. And thank you for supporting us by going to that address. We do stream now on 8 different platforms. I should have probably warned you, Doc and Devindra and Jennifer, that we are on not only in our Club Twit Discord, but we're on YouTube, Twitch, TikTok, X.com, LinkedIn, Facebook, and Kick. Is that 8? That's 8.
Wow.
I know.
Doing it right. That's what you got to do. Yeah.
And I'm not sure. I don't see a number, but how many, Anthony, do you know how many people are watching right now on all those streams? Quite a number, I think. So be nice, be authentic. And you know what? When you do it live, you don't get to edit it. And I kind of like that. CES, you can't call it the Consumer Electronics Show, right? It comes from the Consumer Electronics Association, but it stands for nothing.
It used to
Read
stand
into
for
that
something.
what you will.
It used to stand for the Consumer Electronics Show. And you know what? If you don't explain it that that's what it is, then you got to say that. I don't know why the CEA doesn't want us to say that anymore. But anyway, that's what it is. It is normally a show and has been around for 50 years, I think, something like that. Normally a show where electronics dealers would go to see what was coming from the manufacturers, what they might be putting in their stores in the holidays at the end of the year. So they go in January to see what they might be ordering in October. That's also important to know because a lot of the things you see at CES are not yet products or won't be products until the end of the year. So you have to kind of look at everything with a grain of salt. What do you
might never be products.
Or very often might never if nobody orders them.
There's a lot of those. Vaporware.
Remember the toilet paper robot?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of stuff people bring just to get attention, I think.
Just to get it, yeah. In fact, I'll tell you the secret. They have these pre-show shows like Pepcom and Showstoppers. CES does their own. And the key is if you want to get ahead of the game, you could buy a booth at CES, but better to buy a booth at these little mini shows. Better yet, buy a booth at the front door because most local TV journalists are so freaking lazy. They'll get the video they need at the first two booths and then leave. And that's where the toilet paper robot was.
Speed dating for tech journalism. That's what those like Pepcom and Unveiled is. And
so Devindra,
all...
you're getting by now an avalanche, and probably you too, Jennifer, of press releases.
PR getting ready for invites. Like, December just kicked off, so I'm going to be flying to New York in a bit to take some, early meetings from companies. So that's
they actually. Now they're doing it even before you go to Vegas.
Oh, most definitely. That's been
Jennifer. Are you going to Vegas for CES?
I will be there. Yes, it's been a big smart home show for the last, pretty much since after the pandemic, since they reopened. It's the smart home the section used to be really, really tiny the first time I went, which was, I think, 2 years before the pandemic. And then last year, it was almost the entire Venetian conference hall, all smart home. I remember, I think it was 3 years ago, myself and our TV guy, Chris Welch, the Verge only sent sort of 3 or 4 of us. This was the year after the pandemic. And he went to the Las Vegas Convention Center, which is the big one first. And I went to the Venetian, which is the small one because it's where the smart home was. And he messaged on our work Slack and he said, the Samsung booth is really weird. And I went about half an hour later, I went in and was like, the Samsung booth is awesome because it was all smart things, no TVs.
Wow.
He's like, yeah, I know. It was a big change. But yeah, for me, that was exciting. For him, not so much. He's like, where are the TVs? The LG still had their big giant wall.
Yeah, it used to be you'd go in the North Hall, that first main entrance, doors would open on the first day of the show and the crowds would pour into the kind of the TV area.
Yeah.
And I can't remember, was it LG? Somebody would have Sony, somebody would have, maybe it's Panasonic, always this amazing.
That's LG.
Was it LG?
LG,
I haven't been in years.
Like
I have to say, I haven't been since 2020. The last CES I went to was the COVID CES, pre-COVID CES.
Same.
And I have to remind myself because at the time, the home automation pavilion, because it was in the South Hall, was just like an area. I always thought of it as like the Tower of Babel pavilion, a bunch of technologies that don't talk with each other, don't relate to each other, that are destined to break your heart, really. Matter's changed a little bit. That now at least there's an industry standard.
I'm praying for Matter stuff.
It's something. I
have such a mess without Matter, and I'm like needing more. And I have my OG Philip bulbs are finally starting to show
the Hughes. You have Philip Hughes, yes.
Philip Hughes
shows you're an old timer.
and I have new Philip Hughes mixed in. And the problem is they don't kind of talk to each other. They work on the hub when the hub feels like it. So I'm all in on anything Matter. So I'm watching like a hawk for new stuff Matter, because it's time to change about 54 light bulbs in my house.
Jennifer, Matter was created by the big players. I think Samsung was involved, Google, Apple. The idea
Amazon.
was, we admit we've failed you.
Pretty much.
It only took 10 years for them to admit
Yeah,
that.
right.
Yeah.
Samsung had Smart Things, which was kind of a nice, I think, the idea was sort of like Matter to be kind of cross-platform, but nobody really achieved that. So Matter was supposed to solve this. Did it? Has it? Will it?
It has not yet.
Right.
It has made progress. It is a protocol. Well, there's various protocols that work under Matter. So it's a software layer over Thread and Wi-Fi. And, like Bluetooth and Wi-Fi, it's going to take a while. And it's been 2 years, and they've made significant progress in 2 years, I would say. Not fast enough progress for most of us, especially, sorry, Doc, for you and your Hue bulbs. But there are a lot of devices out there now that work with Matter. It's just that Matter as a whole still has a lot of building to do before it's really ready for prime time. The general consumer is not going to benefit really from Matter at the moment. I think when they first announced this first spec, which was 2 years ago, they said this is the start of a journey. 5 to 10 years from now, we'll be where we want to be. So I think I would say, I think 5 years is a good bet. So what are we in 20? We're about to go into 25. So 2030.
Jesus. In other words, don't hold your breath.
But if you're interested now,
2030?
and if you're willing to take the time and the effort, put the effort in, you can go and buy bulbs that work, smart bulbs that work with Matter. And that means they will work locally in your home. And that's one of the key elements. And actually, this leads into a story we'll be discussing. But one of the problems we've had with IoT devices to date is because they're so dependent on the internet or so dependent on a cloud connection, you have problems when your light switch it's a lot faster to use a light switch than it is to use, say, a voice command because of latency and lag. And Matter brings everything local. There is still the potential. You can still use the cloud for the benefits that you might have from that, like updates or, getting the weather for your smart sprinkler. But it all works locally in your home. So we're going to see a lot of benefit from that if you start adding Matter products now. It's just, as the promise of Matter was, you can be able to buy any device, plug it in or screw it in your smart home, and it will work with any platform and with any other device that also works with Matter. That promise is not really here yet. So we've got a ways to go for that.
How depressing. How long have they had? They've had
2 years. 2 years.
Like
I mean, how long did it take Bluetooth and Wi-Fi? I mean,
Yes.
it takes a while. It takes a while.
It was a little faster for Bluetooth and Wi-Fi.
It feels
was
like-
at least 5 years. It took them 5 years from beginning to getting somewhere. Yeah.
So what happened to Zigbee, Z-Wave? What was the one, the first home automation standard?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what was it called? Where you'd buy all this stuff?
It was Zigbee and Z-Wave.
You mean X1?
in your
Are you
era,
talking
when you were
earlier?
Yeah, when you were in the stereo store, Doc Rock.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
You mean
Oh,
X1?
my God.
No.
X1.
Yeah.
Yes.
You're going way
Yes.
back.
Way back.
Yes.
But that was the
Way
same
back.
thing, though. It was a desire to have a standard that would allow you to control a variety of devices in your house, right?
So Zigbee is Zigbee is still there. Zigbee is the CSA it's the standards are all involved in Matter, which is what's interesting about it and why. Okay, 2013. My math was a bit off because that's not 5 years from when they launched.
X10, sorry,
X10,
not X1.
sorry.
X10.
I was.
No, you were halfway there.
I was halfway there.
Two-thirds of the way.
I had it in my mind, but I was looking at the wrong. But yes, X10 was the early days, and then we had Z-Wave and Zigbee. And Zigbee is the foundation of Thread. Thread is uses the same protocol.
I get the impression Thread is a Google radio thing, right? I have Thread in my Google devices.
It began with the Nest thermostat, in fact, before Nest was bought by Google.
Right.
So Google inherited the foundations of Thread, and then now Thread is very much a popular protocol with Apple and Google. So they're really both pushing it forward. So Thread is in all your HomePods and in most of the Apple TVs and also in the iPhones and in most of the new Macs as well.
It's so lovely. It talks to nothing, but it's there.
Well,
and it's just, it's wonderful. Yeah. They built
it's like the NFC chip in iPhones forever.
Yeah. Well, and we're seeing a lot. We're going to start to see a lot more interesting use cases for both Thread and the NFC chip and UWB, which is another radio protocol that we're seeing in a lot of smart home devices. We're going to be seeing really interesting use cases around those in the next year or so. There's the new standard Alero that's been launched by the CSA, which is the organization behind Matter, which used to be the Zigbee organization. So they're building on existing protocols. So it's not starting from scratch. That's kind of where that's where the hope is that this won't take quite as long as
this is technology designed to break your heart. Technology that promises everything and gives you nothing. And the industry has desperately tried to make this work. What is it? Is it that you have competing interests that just can't work together?
That's what happened. That's what slowed down Matter.
Never as good as the real. So this is a remake of VHS and Beta.
No, it's worse than that. It's worse than that.
That's what I said.
It's as if you had 10 different
never
protocols.
As good as the real. My point stands.
This is the problem has been to some extent that infighting, because we got all the big companies came together to say we need to fix this, like you said, Leo, and the idea being if we fix this basic infrastructure for our homes, then more people will adopt smart home, because there was all these grand predictions that smart home would just really take off, and it kind of plateaued because of the complexity. You really needed to be someone that was willing to be a sysadmin for your home in order to really benefit from home automation.
Oh, that's going to work. No, you know what? That is true. It's always, so I'm the sysadmin. If I die, Lisa won't know how to turn on anything. This is a bad way to do it.
Well, and this is what they're trying to fix, is make it this so that you don't have to worry about the back end. Everything that's the point of Matter. We're not supposed to know what Matter is, and ultimately it should just work. Just like most people don't really know what Wi-Fi is or Bluetooth. They just know that their headphones pair to their smartphone or their TV streams.
There's a joke in there, something like, does this back end make my network look big or something? I'm sitting over here. Here's a Home Assistant green server. I've got Homebridge running on my Synology. I've got 30 Caseta switches. Even the lights here, these Elgato lights are on the Wi-Fi. Nothing works together.
Together.
It's all got its own app. It works with their own app, but and then Apple has the temerity put a bunch of buttons up on the screen representing this stuff, but it doesn't do anything. Google does the same thing. They each have their own home app. I think the Tower of Babel has gotten worse.
Oh, yeah.
Has it gotten
I'll have to say, this is all a little disheartening. The smart home hype has been a thing since my first CES, which was 2010.
Yeah.
And living through that whole era of it all. So now it's okay, they're figuring out, we got to really solve the whole background architecture thing. I think the missing point is, what do you do with this technology? And I think for most people, that doesn't matter. I have friends who really, really love getting all the smart lights and changing their switches and everything. But if the thing you're changing is not as simple as just flipping on a light switch
or not robust
value,
if it works and then it stops working after a month,
all those things, then it is kind of worthless to most consumers. And I think they still have not solved that problem. I think the one smart home thing that has been really cool for me is my Arlo cameras that are HomeKit compatible can show up on my Apple TV. That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
I can hit a button and see where all my house cameras are, and see around my house. But most people don't need that. So I'm still waiting for that like killer use.
I would say energy management is going to be the killer feature.
Yes, as it gets more expensive. Sure.
Yeah,
sure.
It's coming. And that's what Matter's working on like super hard right now. That's their main focus. And that's why I think they've kind of failed to maybe pull up the really kind of core use cases, because they're really focused on the future, which is a problem with protocols, I think, when they're like, they look for a goal and then they may be rushing towards the goal rather than fixing the foundations. But I'm hoping, I think it's hopeful that we'll get there, but the energy management really feels like the use case that will appeal to the broader audience that Matter was designed for, to make things simpler. They just added EVSEs, solar panels, water heaters, such to Matter and appliances, so that you are, in theory, you'll be able to connect all of any large energy device in your home to one platform through Matter and not have to worry about whether it works with HomeKit or if it works with this platform or that platform, whether you need Homebridge or Home Assistant. Home Assistant is I think got a really sort of interesting future in the smart home.
I hope so. I like it.
Streamline, make it a little easier for the regular consumer.
It's designed to be a layer on top of all of this. So
exactly.
That you can,
yeah.
So I live in Northern California. Our local electric company has proposed its 5th rate hike of the year. Ooh. We got a $1,000 energy bill this month.
Whoa. See, this is where you want the smart plugs.
And that's the first thing I told Lisa is, well, we have to figure out what is costing us. What's the thing that we need to turn off? Because I don't know.
Didn't you move your whole studio in-house, Leo?
Yeah, but I don't think it's that. I turn off everything. I'm only on 3 days a week, and I turn everything off at the end. I don't know.
The new tech is really low power. Not like before.
Yeah, I think really what it is the rate hikes, not us. Yeah. I blame PG&E, not us. But, 5 rate hikes in 1 year?
I think people are feeling it. Like, I live in Georgia, and Georgia Power has a monopoly on everything here. And with the Vogtle nuclear plant, which took years to get online, they're like, cool, it's online now. Your bill is now $30 higher to help Georgia Power pay for this nuclear power plant, and you have no choice in it. You have no choice.
That's basically the same here. We have one place we can get our electricity.
Yeah.
Same here. We have HECO, Hawaiian Electric. That's it. You got.
And I bet your rates are going up too, aren't they, Doc?
Oh, 100%. Oh man, it's crazy.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you guys are relatively cheap. I think we're at like 36 cents a kilowatt hour. I think we're one of the highest in the country.
Holy cow!
And we're pretty crazy.
That's twice.
So here's what's hilarious about this, and I totally understand, but like, we live in a modernity era, but my island loves to keep things old school because we kind of went
What are
crazy.
you burning bamboo for the power? What are you doing?
No. Guess what it is every day in Hawaii? Sunny. We have very little of?
Solar.
You know what else is every day in Hawaii? Windy is all get. You know what they want to do? No windmills because they look ugly. And I'm like, but we're at damn near 40 cents a kilowatt hour. What would be really helpful? Solar panels. We have so many flat top roofs, and we have so much places to put solar, and you can do it in your home, but like a lot of commercial establishments don't have. So when they built Targets here, and Targets did like full roof, like completely sustainable buildings, Target's only been here about 10 years. Then people started paying attention because Target was saving the grip. So it's starting to slowly come online, but it's insane.
This is another and a different story, but the power company here won't let you put in too much solar because they don't want you competing with them.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you can only put in as much as you might use.
Can you have a battery though?
We have solar batteries.
Store
in
the power.
theory, we could run off the grid. We haven't had to do that yet.
Well, and this is where I think we're going to see, and it's going to take a long time because infrastructure and retrofitting this type of stuff into current homes is hard. But if this is where the smart home really starts, this is where the smart home started a decade ago when it had its resurgence with the Nest thermostat. Everyone was like, oh, this is great because I can save money on my electrical bill. So, I think that is the use case, saving money
I think that's a good use
convenience
case.
and security. Devindra mentioned the cameras, and security, home security is another. The home security industry has been completely upended by the smart home and the DIY aspect, as in terms of not needing to be locked into these monthly contracts for home professional monitoring. So there are areas where there are strong use cases, but the whole concept of, your lights turning on when you walk in the room and the shades lowering when you say movie time, those are the conversations that a lot of tech journalists will have about this stuff because it's fun and cool, but it's the core benefit to our homes and our infrastructure that I think we're going to find connecting and interoperability and having this sort of local connection in our homes so that our homes can basically diagnose problems for us, manage our energy for us, look after, the systems in our homes to save us money. That's where it's not the sexy side of the smart home, but it's the important side of the smart home. Yeah, that's
interesting. Yeah, because I always think about what I really want is to be able to talk to my house and say, hey, good morning,
That's why I laughed when Dev said it was like early 2010s or whatever. Yeah. I'm like, yo, man, me and Leo watched the Jetsons when we were kids. This stuff was supposed to happen a long time ago. So, I've been on this since the Jetsons, and it still don't work.
But I like
Micah had talked about this sensor maybe like a week ago, and I can't remember the name of it, but it's supposed to be a really good sensor that when you walk in the room, it had better false detections.
At the Akara FP2, so it uses millimeter wave.
Yes. Yes, that's
wow.
All right,
that's
cool.
cool.
I'm going to buy that right now while we're talking before I forget.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a really, really difficult device to set up. And don't use it if you have ceiling fans. But it is fun if you can get it to work. Because the idea being it'll know exactly where you are in the room and
technology designed to break your heart.
That's basically
it. Just wants to take you, get your hopes up, slap you around, throw you to the ground. Sorry, we don't do that anymore. All right, so we will watch from CES your reports, Jennifer Patterson Toohey on The Verge. Devindra, what are you going to be looking at CES this year?
Oh, I'm all about the screens. I miss going to see those glorious screens, and especially I know we want to talk a little bit about Black Friday. This has been a crazy year for TVs. I am watching OLED prices fall to rock bottom prices. A 77-inch OLED from both Samsung and LG under $1,500.
Wow.
Just wild, what we're seeing out there. So yeah,
are theirs considered still to be the best screens?
Definitely.
OLEDs? Or maybe QD OLEDs would be a little bit better. But
QD OLED, which I believe is the newer panels from Samsung.
I have a Samsung QD OLED.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. Yeah.
Basically, if you want an OLED, Samsung or LG at this point are great.
But I paid twice that, I think, for my 77-inch Samsung QD OLED.
In 2017, I paid $1,900 for a 55-inch OLED. Yeah. So, the prices have just gone way down. I bought my dad one on sale last year as well. That is a great size for a lot of living rooms. 65 inches is the bare minimum for most living rooms now too. And you can get that for $1,000 on an OLED. So,
and this is just the benefit of a larger market and more manufacture and improved manufacturing technologies.
I think so. I think that's mostly it. The scale of producing this stuff has gone down. And also, this is the time to upgrade because if the tariff nonsense happens next year, everything is going to be more expensive. So if you were even on the edge of making a big purchase like this, now's probably the time to do it.
Black Friday sales, or do you there are also Super Bowl sales usually.
Cyber Monday sales, it's ongoing until next week, basically. Yeah.
Okay.
We actually on The Verge we had we do deals posts about things I do a smart home deals post, and we had a tariffs deals post.
Oh my
Go
God.
buy these things.
That's a great idea.
If you're thinking about buying these things, buy them now, just in case.
I think saner heads will prevail because Tim Cook was able to talk Trump out of tariffs in 2017 by saying, look, if you put a big tariff, at the time it was only a 25% tariff on Chinese imports. Mm-hmm. If you put a big tariff on the iPhone, you're just helping Samsung. You're hurting an American company and helping Samsung. And I think every CEO saw that because it worked, so that worked, and will go to the Trump administration and say, you're just helping the other guys. It's not gonna do what you think it's gonna do. I'm hopeful.
That's a hope. It's a big hope, Leo. Like it's going to be a little different this time around. They did implement tariffs around like farming, right, and farmers in the first Trump administration. It devastated farmers across America too. So
there is evidence.
Well, and in the smart home, we've saw significant price rises on a lot of devices over the last year or so because it was the knock-on effect from the tariffs from the first Trump administration. So I've had a number of companies I've spoken to have already sort of said, well, we're not sure on pricing yet for this product next year because we're waiting to see what the tariffs will do. So, it's definitely, we will feel an impact pretty quickly in the smart home because almost everything you buy tech-wise now, especially from China, realm, is coming from China. Or, there are some, there's a bit of diversification since the last round of tariffs. I think we've seen some, like a lot more Taiwanese manufacturing. But yeah, the industry is definitely bracing for it, whether it happens or not. But also any excuse to be able to raise the prices. So we may see it whether there are tariffs or not.
Yeah, that's a good point. We saw them do that with inflation. They said, "Oh, good,
the eggs, we can make the eggs, which was apparently a big voter decision factor."
I saw a comic say,
to the egg.
What is it with eggs? Are people eating? How many eggs are people eating? Are they eating a dozen eggs?
Yeah, they have gotten more expensive. I think it's a jump that people notice, but also it was corporate greed, folks. It's corporate greed doing this too.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no bill you can pass that says lower
chickens
prices.
had their hands out, or I guess it would there be their claws out for a pay raise.
It was big poultry. They just got us.
Big poultry. Well, we live in the chicken capital of America, Petaluma, and the law says everybody is allowed to have their own chickens. And
I would love a chicken.
Yeah.
I have. I had 17. I lost
what?
Recently.
Yeah.
What
My
happened?
boss raises chickens. It's best. Free eggs.
Yeah, it's amazing. I don't know what happened. It's been. I think we've had a little disease going through, so it's been a sad few days.
No.
But I love my chickens. I've been raising chickens for almost a decade now.
You had 17. Now, one of the things that happens with chickens is they can be a little smelly and messy. I saw a chicken coop that you roll around. You bring it to different parts of the
that's
property.
Great. I'm testing 2 smart coops right now, and one of them you can lift up.
Smart coop.
Smart
my
coops.
God.
Yeah.
So Jennifer, this is funny you say that. So my boss Katie, she's the director of marketing Ecam. Last year this time she lost all her chickens because the smart coop thing, the chicken blocked the sensor. One of the furry ones that are dumb. It blocked the sensor.
Kind of dumb.
And the raccoons was like, hey, you left the door open. And the raccoons just went in. So they did what you talk about, moved the coop, rebuilt it, and made it without the smart door. Or they fixed the husband's an engineer, so he fixed the smart door, and now it's all working.
We have a cat door that understands the chip in the cat and will not let another animal in.
Yeah, that's smart.
It's probably the same technology, though, except you can't block it.
I don't know how. Was it a light sensor? I wonder how they managed to block it. But yeah,
I don't know whatever happened, but she lost all her chickens in one day,
awful.
and her little girl was gutted.
Oh, no kidding.
Give her an opportunity to explain to her, and which is good again.
Yeah, it's about life and death.
Yeah.
I think we should ban death for
ate well.
children under 16. Should not ever have to experience that. So let's
Well, in Australia, it turns out.
Rupert Murdoch says nobody.
It's funny how much of this conversation is about surviving the future, right? It's just you got to have your own power, got to keep your own power, got to
raise your own chickens.
Raise your own chickens. We are building the Mad Max future because that's where we're headed, and we just can't avoid it. Yeah.
Do you have a well and well water, and then let's see what else do we need? We got the batteries, so you can
a cow maybe.
A cow.
Keep the dairy going.
Really, we should be teaching children basic butchering techniques. I think that's probably true.
Yeah,
like maybe in 8th grade, you could learn how to slaughter a pig. I think it'd be.
Well,
a good thing.
they have 4-H. I mean, that is something that they do teach kids that live in the farmlands.
Yeah. I just buy 50-pound sacks of beans, and I'm going to live on that. I did have a 50-pound sack of corn, but something got into it, and that was no good.
Oh, and you want too big. Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you have a 50-pound sack of corn for, Leo?
I thought maybe, I don't know.
You were really preparing for the end. Yeah.
No, it was, okay, so I have a problem. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but I buy things on Instagram in the middle of the night.
Uh-huh.
And I saw, yeah, you too? Yeah. I saw I thought this is great, a way to homemade tortillas. A tortilla, turns out it's like an antique tortilla press. And then you make your own masa. So I got the mortar and the pestle, but then you need corn. So I bought a 50-pound sack of corn.
Tortillas are so cheap, Leo. They're so cheap. You don't have to do this.
It's not rational. I'm saying it's 3 a.m, and I'm not rational.
This is where they should ban social media for those over 60.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Lock down social media purchases after midnight. Yeah.
I'm like a gremlin. Don't feed me after midnight. All right, let's take a break.
Instagram now is selling random, what they're calling like this new innovation, but they're like Japanese appliances that's been out in Japan forever.
Oh, that's a big thing. Yeah.
I keep seeing so many of them on IG, and I'm like, bro, that is not new tech. What are you talking about?
But is it good tech?
It's good stuff, but it's just hilarious how like, oh, we invented this thing. And then they always call it like hibachi. And I'm like, that's yakitori, son. That's not hibachi. They're not even the same.
I love yakitori.
Even related. They're different. And it's like, oh, you guys are, as a Japanese major, I lose my mind at all of the mislabeled.
I bought this internet gum, this Instagram gum, because it's made by hand. It's a guy makes it by hand, and it's the hardest little balls of gum. You just really don't. You
really taste the hand grease.
You taste the hand.
It says it's good for you. It's remineralizing your teeth. But I don't know. I shouldn't buy this stuff on Instagram. That's really the moral of that one.
Oh, we're really seeing the social media dangers right now.
Yeah. See? See? Ban that stuff. All right. So TVs, and you, Doc, you used to work in a stereo store. You used to sell TVs. It used to be like $3,000 for not such a good TV.
We originally sold plasma, the Marantz,
they were 10
and Philips
grand.
plasmas
Beautiful
for like
plasma.
20 grand.
Yeah.
And then they got down under 10. And I remember people coming to our store standing and goes, I can't wait till they get under 10 grand. Then maybe I'll think about it.
Yeah.
And then it was like, well, I can't wait till they get under 5. And now you can go to Best Buy and buy a TV for 75 bones.
It's amazing. And you don't want a plasma. Tech TV bought 7 or 8 of those $10,000 plasmas. They were only 55 inches. They may not even have been that big. Mm-hmm. And they burnt in almost instantly because they were always on Tech TV. So the Tech TV bug was always on the screen, and they burnt in like that. I mean, instantly.
So Leo, I got in trouble because we had this like $15,000 Philips, and it was in the front of our store. And back then there was this weird kind of cable company that flew by night. Spectrum ended up buying them, but you guys were on that company. It was different from Spectrum at the time. Well, it wasn't Spectrum here, it was Oceanic Cable, which was Macaw. And I used to watch Tech TV all day long in the store. And my mom got so mad one day. She turns on the TV. She goes, "What is this weird little thing?"
The bug's permanent.
And she's like, "You're always watching that computer stuff, and now this TV is broken." And I was like, "Nah, we're just going to play foam on it. For
there you go.
Days. It'll fine.
Go away,
and it works." But yeah, literally, I used to just watch Call for Help. And
Thank you.
TV all day.
Thank you, Doctor.
Yes. Before it was even ZDNet, whatever it was prior to. Before
it was ZD TV in 1998, and then it became Tech TV a couple of years later, and then it became nothing a couple of years after that.
I used to TiVo them when I wasn't going to be at the store, and then I would just watch it in the store all day when we had no customers, and Mom used to get so mad at me. She's like,
people apparently were worried about the tariffs because Black Friday, I think Black Friday always hits a record. Online sales, $74.4 billion. That was up 5%. Over last year. This information comes from Adobe, which weirdly keeps track of all this. Total online Thanksgiving sales, $33 billion. People are buying stuff on Thanksgiving.
Don't want to have to talk to their family, probably.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
It's so much easier to buy stuff now. Yeah.
I think that is one thing I don't like about social is that everybody's sitting at the table, and I bet it even happened at Thanksgiving, looking at their phone, right?
You could institute some rules, though. Phones down. Phones in your pocket.
Get rid of the
phones
phones.
away. Yeah.
Don't be buying stuff on Black Thursday.
Black Friday is just a whole month now.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
I mean, it
started
literally
in the middle of
started.
October.
Yeah.
There were some good deals, though. The MacBook Air is
So wait,
still
I have a
on
question
sale.
for
Oh,
you
man.
guys. This is a fight in our house. I always rebel against the phone down rule because I never have that problem. And where they're like, well, that's because you can entertain them because I'm the Funko, right? So when the kids are around me, they ain't on their phone. They're hanging out with me.
'Cause
they're
you're
asking
entertaining them.
questions.
Yeah.
Because entertaining the kids. So like I don't have to make that rule. I'm like,
I'm gonna admit to
you don't have
something
to import
terrible.
the rule. How about you figure out how to have conversations so that
interesting.
they want to talk back to you? Be
Yeah.
more interesting. Stop blaming the phone. I'm just really mad at people blaming the phone for everything. And I'm like, it's people. It's people
What I
bullying,
do
people problems.
is I sit there blatantly not looking at my phone while everybody around me is looking at their phone, and I just go,
Wow, the Curb Your Enthusiasm
I
music
literally
plays.
get energy, suck energy from the fact that I am the only one. Like, I'm a good person. I'm not looking at my phone. You're looking at your phone, but not me. Adobe said more than half of all the online spending was done on mobile devices.
That's crazy.
That's up 12% from last year.
No surprise.
Jen was right. People didn't want to talk to their families, so they went therapy, retail therapy.
I know. I think Amazon is my husband's favorite social network because
Yeah.
he's just
Sure.
he spends all his time on
Tell
there.
him about Instagram. Tell him about 3M's Instagram. You'll love it.
No, I'm not getting him anywhere near it.
You get all sorts of weird stuff. And then you forget you ordered it and it comes in the mail and you're going, what the hell is this?
What was this?
Leo,
was 3 a.m.
Instagram for us is that used to be late night, 10 p.m. after as seen on TV stuff.
Yes, that's what it is.
what we're.
I
catching
never
on
fell for that.
Instagram
That's
now.
the funny thing. I didn't
Yeah, me
fall for
neither.
the
There's
Ron
more
Cove
friction, much more
Popeel
friction to buy that
pocket
stuff.
fisherman. No, it's right. And if it supports Apple Pay, all the better because then I don't even have to do anything.
Oh
Yeah.
yes, dude. The shop app is dangerous.
My husband was like, "Oh, this deal that we on this thing we want to get our daughter for Christmas. We need to buy it now, right? Because it's Friday. Like, am I not understanding Black Friday? I'm like, dude, we've got like weeks. That deal's never going anywhere. These
November
deals
now.
just keep going until like December, January.
Here's an interesting change, I thought. Adobe said traffic to retail sites from AI chatbots was up by 1,800%.
Because nobody was using them.
Well, no one was
last
using
year.
them last
I
year.
understand, but what it means is somebody is using them. In fact, they did a survey and found out
It's the Chrome
20%
plugin now.
said they were going to the AI chatbot and asking for recommendations and deals.
Yeah. So
Well,
it's
Amazon
the
has
Chrome
one built
plugin
in.
now will automatically
Yeah,
search
that's
all
right.
the sites, right? So if you're looking for something, it will go and it will get all the articles from Engadget and The Verge and Wirecutter and anywhere else, and it gives it to you in a straight line, and it tells you like these people said X, and then so you can build your research off of that.
We'll probably strip all the
Perplexity.
referral links that those sites need.
Have you used
Yeah, it's a good
Rufus, the
question.
Amazon
That's a
AI? Have you used Rufus? Rufus. They call him
Doofus?
Rufus.
I've used Rufus. It's fine.
Have you? Is it?
It's
I'm
very
clicking.
dumb.
Rufus isn't responding.
It's super dumb.
Yeah.
I tried.
Huh.
I wanted to know if the Gobi lights that I have back here, because I'm starting to like this company. There seem to be a little
Oh,
bit
they've
more
got great
than
stuff.
everybody else.
And they work with Matter too.
So that was my question, and Doofus wouldn't answer me. I was doing that while you were talking. And I was like, the hell is
Yeah.
you, Doofus? I'm on
They could have
TV. I
chosen
need-
so
I
many
need
other
an answer
names.
now.
Rufus is a strange name.
Really.
Yeah.
it's always going to be Doofus for me now.
Yeah.
Well, because you can't be Rufus. That's Shaka Khan. That's the
I was
backup
going to
band.
say. Chaka
How
Khan.
you going to
Chaka
step?
Khan.
You stepping into my world
There
now?
was something
Amazon,
good.
I'm mad.
You've got the curtain lights back there. Those looking good.
Yeah, I turned it into a spectrum analyzer, but the problem is the mic, no matter how I fix it, it's still a little too sensitive. So when I stop talking, it still will pick up the random air noise. But I like the idea of that
Wait a
the
minute.
spectrum is working.
You're saying that those lights are a trigger. Oh my God, they are. They're triggered by your voice.
Leo
Yeah.
Laporte.
Oh
they're great.
my
Ooh.
God.
That's lovely.
Come on.
We know what to get
son.
Leo for
Nerd.
Christmas.
Just put it on Instagram. I'll
Put it on
pick up
Instagram. At
There
1
was
a.m.
Gobi lights too.
Hey, they're on sale on Black Friday right now for $95.
You can actually get you could put the twit bug on the, you can like,
You can.
Yeah.
You can make
you
it
can
fall.
put whatever you want on any kind of emoji or
I can't now
design.
because Doc did it first and I can't copy it.
No, I didn't see nothing.
I'm not worried about you. Everybody else is going to say you're copying Doc. I don't want to. That's no good. All right, let's take a break.
Your hair if I could.
Finest badger wool. It's the key, Got to get it from Australian badgers. We have a great panel, don't we, huh? Doc Rock's here, Jennifer Patterson-Toohey, Devindra Hardawar. I'm sorry, I got ahead of the switcher. Thanks for joining us. We appreciate it. Our show today brought to you by Bitwarden. Did you do what I suggested on Thanksgiving? Did you confront your family members and ask them, how do you keep track of your passwords? I hope you did, and I bet you got some terrifying answers. Oh, all I do is I take my birth date and I mix it up with my dog's name, and that's perfect, isn't it? And then I use it again and again on every site. No, you need Bitwarden. Bitwarden Password Manager, open source, which is great because you know that it's doing the right thing. It encrypts your passwords. It creates long, strong, unmemorable passwords. But the good news is you don't have to remember them. Strong encrypted so nobody can get at them. Make sure you have unique passwords on every site. In fact, Bitwarden the other day said, hey, wait a minute. This password you're using here has been seen in a breach. Would you like us to help you change it? And I did, and it was wonderful. Bitwarden's not just for individuals, though. It's great for business. They continue to expand their integration ecosystem across all the platforms businesses use to support seamless operations, elevate the security of your business, including they support Microsoft Intune. So if you are an Intune house, you're using Microsoft Intune, it will integrate with Bitwarden to enhance device security and user identity management. Just enable Bitwarden secure app deployment on any Intune managed endpoint, including desktops and mobile devices, and Bob's your uncle. Rippling, you use that for HR. It simplifies employee onboarding and offboarding. Allows IT teams to assign and revoke access to the Bitwarden vault as employees join or leave. Isn't that sweet? Vanta works with Bitwarden. Vanta combines compliance audit and reporting with secure password management, which means your organization can help meet that SOC 2, that ISO 27001, or other standards because you're doing the right thing with passwords, and Vanta will help you prove it. Rapid7 ensures improved threat detection and response by correlating. Oh, this is really cool. Correlating credential usage with security events. Who used that password when? Strengthening proactive monitoring and intelligence for enterprise security teams. That's just 3 examples of the many, many integrations Bitwarden offers to enterprises to increase your flexibility to centralize security management across the existing technology stacks without, changing the tools you're already using, protecting employee devices, maintaining control over sensitive information. This is something every business needs. Bitwarden users can seamlessly connect tools for IT management, compliance, and security to improve and standardize the deployment of enterprise credential management throughout your organization. Your business deserves a cost-effective solution that can dramatically improve your chances of staying safe online. That's Bitwarden. It's simple to set up. It'll only take a few minutes. And because it's open source, GPL open source, it can be inspected by anyone. Their code's on GitHub. They are regularly audited by third-party experts. And unlike some companies, they publish the full results of those audits, so you can see exactly how safe and secure it is to use Bitwarden. The other thing I love about Bitwarden, and if your Uncle Joe said, I'm not going to use a password manager, I'm not going to pay for it, you tell him Bitwarden's free for individuals, free forever, because it's open source. Get started today with Bitwarden's free trial of a Teams or Enterprise plan, or get started for free forever across all devices. Unlimited passwords, unlimited devices. You can even use passkeys with a free account. You can even use hardware keys like the YubiKey. All at bitwarden.com/twit. Bitwarden.com/twit. I am a huge fan. I recommend it. I tell everybody to use it. You should be using it. And get Uncle Joe to use it, for crying out loud. Because he's going to come crying to you when somebody steals his Facebook account. Bitwarden.com/twit. We thank him so much for their support of This Week in Tech. It's time for more government, more courts. Let's see. I'm going to spice it up and start with Elon. What do you say? So Elon Musk, I just love the guy. He's decided, this OpenAI, which he, by the way, helped found and left in a huff when they said, we're not going to sell it to you and let you run it. He has decided, he has his own AI now, Grok AI, that OpenAI is doing too well. So he filed for injunctive relief from the courts, saying you can't let them go nonprofit because they're discouraging investors from backing rivals like my company, XAI. Can you do that? Can you sue somebody for competing with you? The motion was filed late on Friday. It accuses Sam Altman, Greg Brockman, Microsoft, and LinkedIn co-founder and former OpenAI board member Reid Hoffman, plus Dee Templeton, former OpenAI board member, of various illicit activities and seeks to halt them. You should not be discouraging investors from backing OpenAI's rivals. You know what? If somebody comes and says, I want to do podcast advertising, I tell them, don't go to those other guys. Come to us. That's called business. Benefiting from wrongfully obtained competitively sensitive information through OpenAI's connections with Microsoft. This all sounds like sour grapes.
The big whiny baby. I mean,
he's a big whiny baby.
Like, can you do that? Is the thing I've been saying about Elon Musk for the past couple of months. Can you pour millions into a presidential campaign? Can you truck people to other states to campaign? They don't know. What a guy.
Can you?
And now he is firmly in place. So maybe he feels more protected now that he can do this sort of thing.
So for months, years probably, we've been posting on X. When the new podcast comes out, we post a link to the podcast on X. Turns out we were wasting our time.
Mm-hmm.
Elon Musk says, we don't want any outbound links in tweets or whatever you call them now, skeets, zeets, whatever. It started when Paul Graham, who's the founder of Y Combinator, said that this was right before Thanksgiving. The deprioritization of tweets with links in them is Twitter's biggest flaw. It bothers me more than all the new right-wing trolls. Trolls I'm used to, but what draws me to Twitter is to find out what's going on. You can't do that without links. Elon says, well, dude, that's lazy linking. Just write a description in the main post and put the link in the reply. Problem solved.
Problem solved. You should scroll up on that story, Leo, because that is just the perfect Elon face that I want to punch.
Oh, they always, it's so fun. They always
lead picture for him.
They always, Elon has been so cooperative with all of the publications. Getty has a variety of embarrassing Elon images you can use in your posts.
Well, the interesting sort of follow on from this is how much traffic websites, news sites in particular, have seen since the giant surge of Bluesky following the election, because Bluesky is like what Twitter was in terms of the links. If you want to just go for the news or find interesting links that have been shared in your community to keep up on the news, you can do that at Bluesky now, and you haven't been able to do it at Twitter for a while. I mean, so X for a while.
I guess we kind of knew this, but it does mean that our marketing department has been spending a lot of time creating posts that no one has seen.
We've known this for years. Yeah.
Do you tell your Engadget marketing department don't bother posting links?
I mean, I have no clue what happens there. We have a whole social media side of thing, but in general, Twitter engagement for media platforms has not been very good. Like for the past, even pre-Elon, it was never very good. The people never really saw much traffic referral from Twitter, and now it's just like, oh, you've just made it worse. So now people are going to Bluesky, which is much smaller, but
Threads does the same thing. I should point out, Meta also deprioritizes news links because they don't want to get involved.
Well, they want you to stay in their platform.
That's the real reason.
X wants you to stay on their on its platform, and Instagram and Threads wants you to stay on its platform. They don't. That's why. I mean, Instagram's never allowed links, right? So you've never been able to link out.
That's right. Link in bio.
Link in bio. It's this sort of the news, being a news source is not what these platforms want to be, although I think a lot of people still use social media as a news source. So there's kind of a real push and pull there.
That's what X really was a kind of a feed of what's happening in the world as in the zeitgeist. Now without links, it's kind of much less useful. By the way,
very less useful.
I blame you for this. You said show that picture of Elon. And what I didn't realize, this is hysterical. I guess because remember I told you we're using a Mac in the cloud for Ecamm. That Mac has reactions turned on and thought Elon was... So we got the 2 thumbs up reaction. Not in the podcast, just on the Discord, because I guess that's what's feeding the Discord. So that's, I didn't even think that could happen.
That's a weird issue for that to even happen.
That's funny.
Let me do it again. Okay. Let's just see if it happens.
Yeah, somebody screenshotted it.
Thumbs up. What do you get? Fireworks?
Yeah.
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 My daughter loves that when I FaceTime in. Yeah.
Wow. You know, people were saying this the other day. They're saying, stop doing the thumbs up. You're getting fireworks. I said, no, I'm not. But apparently on some platforms, thanks to there being a Mac in there.
AI is smart, but not too smart. Especially right now. Yeah.
Anyway.
The OpenAI angle that is kind of interesting in here, I think that Elon probably does have a leg to stand on, is this shift from being a not-for-profit and we're going to make this better for the world to, oh, hang on. We've just realized we can all make an awful lot of money here.
I mean, if you want to follow the saga, it's a long and tattered story. The original structure was there would be a nonprofit. That's the way Elon and I think Sam Altman and the other founders originally configured it, but they realized quickly that you can't be nonprofit because it costs so much to train these LLMs.
Yeah.
You have to make money, or at least raise money. So then they did something weird. They had kind of split it in two. There was a nonprofit and a for-profit arm, and now they just want to eliminate the nonprofit arm.
Because the for-profit arm was like revenue limited for some reason too. So that was a whole thing. You know, this all reminds me there's some great conversations happening on Bluesky right now. And one thing that I keep seeing is that people are saying, if we take Sam Altman at his word, right, that they want to stop AGI or whatever because of what they're building, why aren't we hunting him for sport? Why aren't we sending people to stop him right now? Because you're the danger, AI people. You're telling us.
The Terminator came back to stop Sam Altman. Along.
He told us. He told us he's doing it. So
come with me if you want to live. That's interesting. I mean, okay. So really, just between us, it's just the four of us.
No one's listening.
How many of you think that we really will at some point in our lifetimes have a machine that's like you could talk, like HAL, that you could talk to, like it's AGI, like it's smart? Is that likely?
I mean, there's a lot of things we don't know what's possible, but I don't think it's going to be within the timeline these folks are saying. Because, like, since I was in high school, I've been reading Michio Kaku and Ray Kurzweil and those folks, and I think a lot less of them now after like seeing their predictions and seeing where we are. But 50, 100 years, sure, maybe. Yeah.
I've interviewed both of them many times.
I've interviewed Michio, yeah.
And it's one of those are the guys who like big, and then it's gonna be amazing. And I don't know. What do you think, Jennifer? You're gonna be able to? Is your daughter gonna be talking to a little, AI buddy,
like Clara in the Sun?
Yeah, like Clara in the Sun.
Great book.
Yeah,
great book.
Wonderful book.
I don't think we are as close to AGI as people would have us believe. I think, and I also don't necessarily see as much benefit from AGI. Especially from my space, we're seeing an awful lot of push of, this has got AI. We've had AI in the smart home since Alexa, but it wasn't really AI. But I think ASI, artificial specific intelligence.
Ooh, I've never heard that term. I like that.
May be the more what we're going to see in our lifetime that really does change things. That very specific. It's the difference between like Rosie the robot and Roomba the vacuum. It's
Perfect.
like whether we have one omniscient being in our home that can do everything for us, or whether we have specific agents that are helping us do different things. Those feel safer to me.
Unless the specific thing they do is launch atomic weapons. But other than that,
why did we build the atomic, smart home?
Yeah. It just depends on what their skills are. But I have a little AI that helps me code. And it's quite good, and it doesn't steer me wrong, and it works quite well.
And doesn't hallucinate, and it has a very clear purpose.
Specifically, I said, don't make up anything that you don't see in the documents that I gave you.
Yeah,
it works quite well.
I mean, do we need we're all tech geeks. We were all sci-fi fans. We love the idea of the Star Trek computer or HAL, and this kind of concept that we grew up reading about or watching TV and these are exciting ideas, but what's actually most useful? Is it, the way Apple Intelligence summarizes my text messages? Or is it the way, my robot vacuum can intelligently learn how to clean my floors? What do we need? What do we want? What's the benefit that we're looking for here? Mm-hmm. And I think that's the important question to ask, rather than let's create God. That just doesn't seem like a good idea.
Yeah. Let me complicate this. I said before we die, but I know because there's an app that tells me that I'm going to die. This is, let's see if I close my eyes, you can focus on this. It says Leo's going to die Sunday, March 17th, at least it's St. Patrick's Day, 2041, at the age of 84.
That's terrifying.
Save the date.
I hate this app so much. It's so stupid. It only costs you $40 a year for it to make up a day you're going to die.
Well, that's the thing. And, they has a 3-day trial. So I did the 3-day trial, but I have to remember to cancel. Because what it does is you go through the whole questionnaire and then it says, now, do you want to know? Because you're going to have to pay. And it pissed me off. That was really ridiculous. Now, it did say, and this is, I think, the use of it, with better habits, I could live to age 90. But I've got to have
referral links.
Doesn't this scan your fitness data and health tracking?
It's not that good. It's a questionnaire that you go through and you tell.
I thought I had heard about some kind of connection that fitness apps had to something, that can do this.
Well, that's inevitable, right? This is just a matter of time.
Push you towards. Yeah. I saw this when I was doing some scrolling, not talking to my family on Thanksgiving, and I just scrolled right past. No thanks.
Somebody in the Discord, Pats says, that is so dumb. Is there anything Leo won't buy?
That's true. Did you see the ad for this app, Leo? At what time in the night?
I saw an article this morning and I said, I got to try that. Yeah. I actually had done this before. There's a free questionnaire that you can do on a website. Let me see if I can find it. I think it's called Living to Be 100 or something like that. It's basically the same questionnaire and it's for free. So really, that'd probably be better for you to do that instead of what I did. I haven't paid for
AI
it yet.
in the title. Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. This has AI in the title. That's pretty cool, man. All right. I've frozen all my screens here, so I think it's time for me to take a pause and figure out what's going on as we continue with this episode 1008 of This Week in Tech with our great panel, Jennifer Pattison, Tui. Tui. Isn't that a bird?
Huey. I like Huey.
Tui.
Tui is a very old Irish name. I got it from my husband. It's very difficult to spell and pronounce, which is why my other social media is JP2E, the number 2, the letter
2 E's.
2E.
I like that.
But yeah, very old Irish name. And then also a beer in Australia.
Oh, really? Tui beer. Oh.
There may be a bird.
That's nice.
I don't know about the bird. I'd like to know about the bird.
There's a Tohi, anyway. It's a wonderful name, and we're so glad to have you, Doc Rock,
very happy to be
who also has a good name and lives it. His life's
you should
principle.
have somebody named Apple in your family, so they could be an Apple Tui.
Apple Tui.
Gwyneth Paltrow stole that name. I don't think anyone else is going to use it now.
She did. And according to Instagram, her daughter Apple is looking quite lovely, by the way, I might point out. My cat's coming, so that's another reason to go to a break.
I thought that was Anthony's cat.
It sounds.
I thought it was my cat.
What do you want? Come here, Samantha. You can't see. Cats won't do what you tell them.
Are you on air?
No.
Yeah. She just wants to be annoying.
Cats should design the AI. That would be the best thing for humanity. Is cats design the AI because it won't do anything.
I think you could get an AI that was as smart as a cat. The brain is the size of a walnut. How hard would it be to have an AI that is as smart as a cat? Not that you'd want that. We bought her a water, so she likes to drink out of the.
Feed them.
She likes to drink out of the little faucet on the shower. She likes that, so we bought her a fountain. Yeah. Won't go near it.
Won't.
She has her own personal kitty fountain. She won't go near it. And now she's just going to stand there at my door going, "Wow," but not responding. Oh, here she comes. Come on. Yeah. I have a bed for her. I've got in my studio. I have a bed ready, waiting, and able for her.
It's a good
But-
Is that
idea.
a company perk? Because Anthony's cat is in there.
I know.
Yes,
There's another one there.
There's Tiberius. That's what gave me the idea. Tiberius is in the bed.
Just been sitting there.
Oh, come on.
chilling.
Not the Tiberius. I love it. And you're my hero now.
Isn't that a great name? That's because
Name
Anthony's
of
always thinking about the
Tiberius
Roman
cat.
Empire. Yeah. Come here, Sammy. Come here. You could be on TV. She says, it's not TV. It's a podcast. I know better. Our show today, anyway, great to have you. And Devindra Hardawar from Engadget. Wonderful to have you. Our show today brought to you by Experts Exchange. Actually, this is cool. We were talking about AI. Will AI ever be as smart as a human? Guess who is as smart as a human? Humans. Imagine a network of trustworthy, talented tech professionals where you could go ask questions, get no snark, but just good information, industry insights, advice, how-tos from people who are actually using the products in your stack. Instead of asking some dumb AI or worse, paying for expensive enterprise-level tech support. Experts Exchange is the tech community for people tired of the AI sellout. Experts Exchange is ready to help carry the fight for the future of human intelligence. It's a human community with human answers. You'll get access to professionals in over 400 different fields. I'm talking coding, Microsoft, AWS, Azure, DevOps, whatever, Cisco, whatever it is you need to know. And unlike other places, there's no snark. Duplicate questions are encouraged. You've been to the sites where they go, oh, that question was already asked in 2002, so we're not going to answer it. Or worse, you could do it that way, but I think you should do it this way. No, the contributors at Experts Exchange are actually nice people, a community you want to be a part of, tech junkies who love graciously answering all questions. People who've realized that the real benefit to becoming an expert is paying it forward, is helping other people with your own expertise. One member said, I never had GPT stop and ask me a question before. That happens on EE all the time, Experts Exchange, all the time. They're proudly committed to fostering a community where human collaboration is fundamental. The Experts Directory is full of experts to help you find what you need, including experts who listen to our shows. I know Rodney Barnhart, who is a Security Now listener, happens to be a VMware V expert, and he's glad to answer your questions. Or the well-known ethical hacker, Edward von Biljon. There are Cisco design professionals. You can even get executive advice. They're executive IT directors and more. Here's the other thing that's very important. Other platforms, let's be honest, betray their contributors. X does it. LinkedIn does it. Reddit does it by selling the content your hard-earned content you put there to train AI models. Not Experts Exchange. Your privacy is not for sale. They stand against the betrayal of contributors worldwide. They have never and will never sell your data, your content, your likeness. They block and strictly prohibit AI companies from scraping content from their site to train their LLMs. And the moderators strictly forbid the direct use of LLM content in the threads. You're getting real answers from real humans. It's a community. You can't, a robot doesn't give you a community. Humans do. Experts deserve a place where they can confidently share their knowledge without worrying about a corporation stealing it to increase shareholder value. And humanity deserves a safe haven from AI. It's Experts Exchange. And I think it's so cool. I want you to try it right now for free for the next 3 months. No credit card required. Just create an account, ask your questions, browse e-e.com/twit. It's really a great place. It's been around for years. I used it years ago. Often would go there to get answers to questions on the Tech Guy show. When they called us, I said, "You guys are still around. I love Experts Exchange." We thank them so much for supporting the show. You support the show, by the way, when you go there and use the special URL so that they know you saw it here. e-e.com/twit. You know they've been around for a while. They got a 3-letter .com TLD. Those are not easy to come by. But with one more X story, which I think is kind of telling. You remember The Onion bought InfoWars, right? And the Onion, which is great. That's the Alex Jones channel where he was, railing against everybody. He lost a $1.5 billion lawsuit to the Sandy Hook family because he said it never happened. They were all actors. Such lies. The Sandy Hook families actually accepted half as much from the Onion because they preferred that the Onion get the InfoWars site and IP and vitamins than this other company that was bidding for it that was essentially a shadow company created by InfoWars to buy it back. However, there's a little fly in the ointment. This week, X filed an objection. Now, I thought originally when they said, we have something we want to say, that they were going to say, no, we want to buy it, or maybe let then Alex Jones use it or something like that. No, it turns out that among the other things the Onion bought was the X accounts, the InfoWar Twitter accounts. And X said, no, they don't own those. We own them. You do not own your social media accounts. You don't own your followers. You don't own your account. You don't own anything at all. And that is a fascinating assertion. I guess not maybe too much of a surprise, but yet that's something for everybody to remember. You don't own that stuff you put up there.
Gotta start blogging again, everybody. Personal websites.
Yep.
Get your RSS feeds up to date.
Yep.
Yeah.
I actually, I've mentioned it before. I use a site called Microblog. It's kind of a Twitter, but it's also my my blog. And when I post on it, it automatically posts it to doesn't post to Twitter because their API is not open, but to Threads, to Mastodon, and to Bluesky.
That's nice.
Isn't that cool? So you can post stuff here, and I still own it, right? It's mine. It's just syndicating it to those other sites. So if Twitter, well, it's not Twitter, but because I don't use Twitter anyway. But if Mastodon or Threads or Bluesky disappears or asserts ownership of this stuff, no, it started here. I own this, which I think is the right way to do it.
Got to go back to it. Yeah.
Yeah. Post, it's posse. Post once, syndicate everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what the original I don't know if it's the original, but one of the first microblogs I remember back in the day, which we all loved so much, and I think it was called Postable. It was kind of a yellowish.
Oh, I used it, and you would email to it. Post.
Yeah.
They went at Posterous.
It's called Post something.
Posterous. Yeah.
Bingo. Dude, I love that. And it's really funny you say that today. For my first video for December, I was going to talk about why I'm going back to blogging, and it had a lot to do with because like I've been on Bluesky since the first invites. But yeah, I just feel like I know that I feel like somebody in my family would be able to get access to anything I put there later if something were to happen to me in St. Patrick's Day.
At least 2041. I got some time, man. That's not.
Well, this was the whole sort of idea behind the Verge's redesign last year was.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So we have these quick posts now on our site, which are basically Nilay Patel, the editor-in-chief. He would sort of say to us, guys, let's not put our thoughts and feelings and ideas on
X,
these social media sites, on X or any of them.
Put them here.
Let's put it on the site. Let's give it to our readers. And the Verge now has more of a kind of social media stream feel.
Nilay's very smart. He used to be on our show, but he's too smart for us anymore. But I love Nilay.
What does that make me? Hey.
No, well, you're his proxy. You're you're smarter. How about that? You're even smarter. You come on this show. But I think this is really true. This is really true.
Because, blogging is great, but, there's always the kind of feeling like a blog requires a fair amount of structure or form or at least more than, 75 characters. So the idea of these were more, they were twofold, I think. I don't want to put too many words in Nilay's mouth, and he's written about this, so you can find out more. But it was sharing things from around the web, which is something that social media is used for a lot. We link to stories on different publications all the time that we like or we think is worth disseminating, and then also just our thoughts, short and sweet when we have them, that aren't necessarily a whole story. Because the Verge is our home. Like my author page has all of my stories on it. If I go to X or if I go to any of the social media sites, as you say, you don't own that, and it's important to always be able to especially as a journalist, own your own content. And this isn't just social media. I mean, websites disappear, so your content disappears. I actually use this service called Authory that gets anything I've written online and stores it into like a PDF form, so that I can always, even if the website goes out of business, I'll still have a copy of my article. Because the internet is unfortunately ephemeral in many in many senses. You can't always guarantee that something's going to either be there or be the same as when you wrote it, because things get updated, and so it's very important, especially for journalists, to be able to keep copies of everything you've done and copies of your work. And I think anyone that thought that they owned their Twitter account or X account,
the truth is out.
I don't know that many people really realize that was the case, but it's true on all of the social media platforms, really.
Yeah, of course. That's why they can sell it to an AI for scraping, because that you don't own it.
Well, it's funny is you mentioned the author page. If I pull up author pages for me, they're all on Engadget now, because Tual got sucked into the Engadget vortex.
Oh, you were at the Ultimate Apple website.
Yeah, I was
all the websites
right
there.
Yeah, so it's funny,
bottom.
like they still show up every once in a while when I'm looking for something, and I'm like, I forgot. I completely forgot it's all over there.
Hey, but at least you live on.
Yeah. So
they live on, but without pictures, probably, because most sites delete pictures after
some
10
of them
years.
are broken, some of them are there. It really depends on whether it was, because we did a changeover in the middle. And so some of the stuff that was on one of the services, all of the pictures survived, but like, the old 2R TV logos and stuff, which I designed, they still show up,
Oh, I didn't know that. Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So it's funny. I really just resonated when JPT was talking, like it all resonated to me about how much I miss those ideas of sort of owning your own byline. And and what's really crazy, somebody had mentioned way back up in the chat, like, oh, you should have kept some of them Apple stocks. But when I first moved over into the quote unquote journalistic side,
they wouldn't let you
keep your stock. So I got rid of it like a dummy. And to come to find out, a whole bunch of people never got rid of it.
Oh, that's frustrating.
Yeah.
I never have. Don't own any. I never have. So I guess it's also important that you don't own your YouTube content.
Yeah, for the most part, and I fully understand that. I think that's something that I
people do though when they post on YouTube. I
teach my people that, but I don't think a lot of people know that they technically don't own their content, right? And one of the things that I also do, there's a YouTube license and there's a Creative Commons license. I tend to press the Creative Commons license.
I did that. I do that too.
Right? People say, well, what if somebody steals your stuff? It's not mine, bro. Like, I'm telling you thoughts from my head, and I've invented a couple techniques that I think are my own, but I'm just here to share.
It's ephemera.
Like, it still gets monetized for me being who I am. So, like, I think that is such a weird concept, and we will be, I guess, better off the more we get used to understanding of what we're sharing and why we're sharing it for. Right now, there's a lot of chase to be first and sort of one-upsmanship. And I think that also adds to the toxicity of the platforms, because now, from a debacle that happened last year, people don't even trust the YouTube reviewers anymore, because one of the companies had one person that worked in that company that thought they were going to get the leg up and keep their job by trying to talk a couple of the YouTubers into not saying that they paid for this camera review. And then everybody slagged at the company. And I was like, yo, I know most people at that company. There was just one person speaking out of turn. And you know what I mean? So that whole embargo day stuff is kind of, I tell Rode, when Rode just sends me something, I go, mine will be 3-4 days late. And they go, why? Because I don't want to be on embargo day. I'm not competing with these kids.
Well, we don't own anything these days, though, do we? Like, we don't own
our music.
We don't own our music. We don't own, there's so many things you think you spent money on and you've bought. And in the digital world, I think there's a lot of people that don't really understand that. And that's, that, and it's frustrating, but there's also, you're paying for the convenience, and it's so much easier these days to, stream the music. I mean, I used to have, stacks of CDs. I owned that music. Now, Spotify and Apple Music, I can listen to anything I want, but one day, if I stop paying, it's all gone.
Yeah. Well, I still love physical media, physical movies, amazing stuff that you can get. Yeah.
But what can you play it on?
I mean, I complain on a whole bunch of things, and I think more people should be talking about like what a miracle the 4K Blu-ray format is.
You have to buy the film stock because you could always get a light bulb.
Well, film degrades. Film degrades, right?
Oh, does it?
Everything.
Oh.
Yeah, everything degrades.
Yeah. There's nothing. That's the downside.
I actually
But
have
now
some
we
old
don't own
CDs that
anything.
won't play because they degraded. So
Disc rot,
it
man.
turns out
So-
that will happen.
Oh,
That's the
that's
thing.
very
You have
bad in
to-
Hawaii because it's so humid there. Actually, it happens
100%.
more in tropical
I
areas.
wasn't
yeah.
expecting it. I'm like, these are going to last forever. And I put them away and I go to pull out some old stuff. And I'm like, wow.
I was working at a radio station when CDs first came out, and the music director, the program director, came to a big conference room table and he said, "Great news! We're replacing all the other stuff, the vinyl and everything, with these CDs. They're indestructible." And he started throwing them. They're not indestructible.
It's not magic.
We learned a lesson that day. You mentioned Posters. I feel like Posters might. I wish we could bring it back. It was sold.
good.
It went out of business.
Yeah.
The idea was you'd email your blog posts in. And I used it when we went to China because I couldn't post on Twitter or anywhere else, but I could email. They couldn't block email.
Everybody
I
supported
think
that.
my
back in the
last
time.
post on Posters are from China. That's really funny you say that.
Oh,
That's
interesting.
funny. But
That's sad.
WordPress supported that in like 2005 or so. Like you could
I
email
guess.
stuff to WordPress and other blogs.
Posters
for a
was
while.
so simple, though. It was just
Tumblr,
really-
the whole
Tumblr.
family of stuff. Yeah.
Why are those all? Did people just that Twitter killed them?
Microblogging killed a lot of that. Like you did this small blogging, like the I don't know, were those mini blogs? But when you could just like fart out a thought on a on your
You
phone
just
on Twitter,
lose the urge
That's
to
it.
write
That's
a
all you
longer
need.
piece, don't you?
Yeah.
You just
Yeah.
it scratches that itch, and so you don't need to do anything longer anymore.
well, maybe
Well, and-
maybe
and-
you didn't need
in the
more than that.
beginning.
Right.
I think that's also the beginning of our number one inability to communicate properly because it was easier to take a 240 character post and misunderstood what the person was saying. But if you force them to write 500 words where you can probably get out a deeper thought, that was too much work. So we ended up overreacting to a lot of sort of misguided 240 character tweets, and we lost the ability to have conversation without just going straight to the left.
I mean, people
You
still
lose the
misinterpreted
nuance.
those 500-word blog posts. Like I've been on the internet long enough to be in fights with
That's
the
true.
comments.
I remember
People
those days.
misinterpret
That's just
anything. It doesn't matter how
Yeah,
long
yeah,
it is.
that's
They're going to
facts.
misinterpret everything.
I take it
So
back.
at least with Twitter, like it's faster. I can be like, oh no, you're wrong, or like you can explain yourself.
You misheard my 5 seconds talking.
Exactly. The one of the best tweets is like, that's a whole other sentence. I'm not even saying that. What you're saying. Yeah.
Are we going to look back in 20 years and say, "Oh, remember the good old days of Twitter and all the
I'm doing that
flame
now.
wars?" And you're doing it now.
I'm doing that now. Like
Yeah.
the good old days of like early Twitter and like how kind of cool
It
that
was
was,
cool.
and how unique that was.
Yeah.
And things are changing. I'm following the Bluesky wave right now. Like the things they're doing, the lessons Bluesky as a company seems to have learned from the issues with Twitter and everything else, I think are kind of heartening,
Everybody we talk to on these shows has started to move to Blue Sky.
It's fun.
Is it?
Yeah.
You're nodding, Jennifer. You moved to Blue Sky as well. Yeah.
Well, it's a casualty of the job, really, but I'm on like all of them. But I would
me
say
too.
that Blue Sky, I've started to use more. I joined when it first came out, and at first I really didn't sort of find a community there my smart home community was still very much on X, but everyone's pretty much gone now. And Mastodon I still use. There's quite a good community there that I interact with a lot.
You're old school. Wow. We run our own Mastodon instance, so I'm obviously a Mastodon supporter, but
it's cool.
Yeah, there are too many though. That's the thing now. Like there are too many social networks.
well, that's the question I ask when people say, "Oh no, we've moved to Blue Sky." You moved to Blue Sky because you still feel a need to do microblogging? Is that why, or?
The conversations are great. Like that's the thing. That's why I joined Twitter and why I kind of love Twitter is that you could just strike up a conversation with anybody. And to me, Twitter was always the purest thing of what I wanted from the internet. When I went to the first AOL chat room, it's like, oh, people are talking about video games and anime here. That's cool because nobody in my town is doing this stuff. So Twitter was that direct feed to the global conversation, and we're kind of recreating that in Blue Sky. It's much smaller, but it's fun. Like the energy is good.
But it is skyrocketed, in the last three or 4 weeks. I mean, I think the starter pack stuff really has that was kind of a genius
That was smart.
move.
That was so smart.
I mean, I went from I think I had like, I don't know, 500 followers or something to 6,000 in like a week.
Wow.
And now it's kind of hard to, it still hasn't necessarily got its mojo yet, I think. I mean, it still feels very much just like this is Twitter, but this was Twitter, but without some of the nasty side of Twitter. I love the links. I think that's great to have that back. That was one of the things I mainly used Twitter for, was as a news source. But the conversation, I do see much more engagement there than I see on Threads. And engagement, is probably the key for me. That's what I'm most interested in. Being able to sort of talk to readers and reach and people that are in the space and like have those conversations, as you said, Devindra. That's what Twitter was so good for, or X. Being able to reach out to people that you normally wouldn't be able to connect with. I mean, when I started out as a baby tech journalist, I reached out to quite a few people from the Twit network on Twitter and interviewed them for stories I was doing, and it would have been hard to kind of connect. That connection is really key. But the problem now with 7 social media networks that everyone's using, it's like, where do you go now? And what's going to, I mean, the race is on, isn't it? Which is going to win? Or are we just going to are we going to have them all? Are they all going to continue? I mean, which one's your favorite now, Leo?
Briefly thought that it wouldn't be replaced, that we didn't need this, and that we're just going to move on to something else. But I guess maybe there is a need to kind of create these communities online. It would be nice if there were one, but we've also learned that we don't really want to centralize this all into one private company because, well, you saw what happened at Twitter. Let me show you this app because I don't know if you know about it. It's called ClearSky. Are you familiar with this? ClearSky.app. They use the API to do some interesting things. So, for instance, they say right now there's 23.4 million active accounts on Bluesky. You can see the top most blocked, by the way, Brianna Wu
most blocked list.
is Brianna Wu. But you can also, like, I can put my handle in here and find out, and this is really useful, what lists I'm on, which one doesn't, I can also see who I'm blocking. I'm only blocking one person.
Oh, Leo, you got to really flex that block hammer.
I got to get good, but I'm blocked by 22 people. So, okay, I'm proud to say. Here's the lists you're on. So I'm on 335 different lists. I think that's really interesting, right? That's cool. So this is a ClearSky.app. It's a free app that just uses the API. And you can see if there's somebody on here, Palomar, who's blocked 500,000 accounts.
They blocked me. I'm like,
Not
what?
much of a pal.
He's busy.
Nothing to you.
I think it's just an auto block, obviously, right? Yeah, anyway, I just thought that was kind of interesting. That's, to me, a sign when that started happening with Twitter, with clout and stuff like that, that's a sign that it has gotten some currency in the culture. People are going to start writing tools around it. It's also a good sign because it means there's an API or there's there's the app proto, which Bluesky uses.
All of these lists that I'm on are people's Twit lists. How nice of you guys.
Aw, see? Show up on Twit. You'll end up on Bluesky.
I've been on Bluesky like JBT from the beginning, but the only person I would actually talk to, strangely enough, was Jake Tapper because he was writing his book, and I liked the book, and we were never talking about what he does. We were talking.
But that was what was cool about Twitter, just as Jennifer was saying, is you could have these conversations with big shots. Yeah,
it was helpful when starting a podcast in like 08, 09, like movie directors and writers and stuff.
That's how I met Steve Martin. He DM'd me. He said, "You don't have to answer this, but I really like your shows." It's like, I'm not going to answer Steve Martin. Are you kidding me? So yeah,
I mean, what it was. I posted a thing about Vegemite, and
that'll do it.
Rode had sent me some Vegemite. That probably got me blocked.
Don't even start.
All the Marmite fans got pissed off at you. Yeah.
Marmite's
That's what it was.
That's the big battle: Marmite versus Vegemite.
Vegemite is Australian miso. That's it. It's so simple.
That's all.
It's umami, isn't it? Yeah. Actually, what it really is the byproduct of beer manufacture. But let's not get into
Good
that.
stuff.
Marmite for the win.
You're a Marmiter. Right?
Marmite
Love
You're
the
from
Marmite.
the UK.
Marmite
Yeah.
Vegemite's awful.
Can you tell the difference?
Yeah, Vegemite. Marmite has just wonderful. It's like
It all tastes like salt to me. I don't.
That's
Marmite
fun. Yeah.
and cheese on toast. That's what
All
you
right.
should have.
All right. Ian Thompson's always telling me that. You got to put your Marmite on toast.
Yes.
Bluesky has implemented a more aggressive impersonation policy. So if you are a parody account or a fan count, again, another sign of maturity. Like, oh, yeah, this is starting to become a thing.
They're growing up so fast.
Aw, isn't it sweet? 44% of Bluesky's 100 most followed accounts have a doppelganger, a double, that's either a parody or a satire or a fan account. So I doubt I have one, but now I will because I said it. So forget it. That's according to Engadget. Thank you, Mariella Moon, and thank you, Devindra Hardawar. Let's take a break, and I do want to talk. Jennifer has posted a couple of things about the FTC's report on smart devices, which is kind of an eye opener. And maybe you have some advice for us, JPT. We're going to call her Chat JPT from now on.
Love it.
Kevin King, our producer, was the one who came up with that. Doc Rock's also here, and Devindra Hardawar. Our show today brought to you by our good buddies at ACI Learning. You might say, well, how the good buddies, I've never heard about them. That's the folks who do IT Pro. We've been talking about them since they started. Binge-worthy, video-on-demand IT and cybersecurity training. Whether it's as an individual, as a team, IT Pro is the way to get cert-ready. A video library of more than 7,250 hours of training. That's mind-boggling. And it's not old stuff. They have their 7 studios are running Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, always keeping everything up to date. It's just that this is a fast-changing world. There's new software, new certs, new questions on the tests, new versions. And so they have a lot to do. But those 7,250 hours are truly up-to-date training by people who are experts in the field, who love what they're doing. And their passion is communicative. You become engaged in it because they are engaged in it. There's more, too. If you get a premium training plan, you can get practice tests. It's the best way to study for the certification exams. I always think it's better to take the test before you actually take it, right? To practice the test. Because then you go in with confidence and you feel like you're ready. I know what I'm going to see. I'm ready to do it. It just makes a huge difference. They also have virtual labs. You don't need to have a Windows server or Windows machines to set them up, configure them, learn the ins and outs. You do it all in a browser. It's pretty cool. Virtual labs. It's also great for MSPs who often use this to test configurations and so forth. It really facilitates hands-on learning. IT Pro from ACI Learning. They make training fun. Engaging, enjoyable videos by real experts. It's the best way to take your IT or cyber career to the next level. Be bold, train smart with ACI Learning. If you go to the website, info.acilearning.com/twit, you'll see there is a code for 30% off your first year of the IT Pro annual training plans. That's a big savings. Just use the offer code TWIT100. Or just go direct to info.acilearning.com/twit. If you've said to yourself, I should get into IT, I need a better job. And boy, so many of our listeners over the years have done that, have become IT professionals. It's a great career. There's always a need. If you've got a team that you want to keep skilled and upskilled, this is a great way to do it too. The teams love it because it's great training. info.acilearning.com/twit. Don't forget that offer code, TWIT100. We thank them so much for supporting the show. So tell me about this FTC report, Jennifer Patterson-Toohey.
Yeah, so basically the FTC did some Googling, which is basically the
impressive.
extent of the
Holy cow.
research that they did.
Wow.
Because this is just sort of an early look at what is going to be a big problem. And it's actually Stacey Higginbotham, friend of the show. This has sort of been a personal crusade of hers for a long time. If you listen to her Stacey on IoT podcast, which she used to do, she would harp on about this, that smart connected gadgets need an expiration date. And what the FTC has done here is research to see a number, I think it was 184 smart products, to see whether they told consumers when they would stop supporting them in the way that we know now that when a smartphone might
out of 184 products, only 21 said, "Oh, by the way, when you hit St. Patrick's Day 2041, that's it. It's over.
It's done."
Yeah.
So the idea basically being that these smart makers of smart devices are not telling consumers how long they will support their product. So if you buy a smart thermostat or a smart garage door opener, video doorbells, all sorts of things, home appliances, there's a list of companies that they researched, and 184 of them, only 11, just over 11% actually had any data on when the device would stop working. And
I have to confess, I've never thought about that. I have a Ring
Well,
doorbell.
this
I
is-
never thought about that. I have
when Ring
Hello.
may stop supporting it. Yeah, it's a tricky area. This is why I wouldn't necessarily say the companies are necessarily at fault here yet, because this is not something that's become part of the consumer consciousness. It's becoming that way now because we're seeing more and more devices that have gone out of business. Companies have gone out of business, so there's no longer a cloud support. For example, a couple months ago, AeroGarden, which was a smart garden device that you could put on your kitchen counter and grow.
I bought one on Instagram. Yeah.
Single-handedly keeping Instagram going, Leo. But yeah, so it went out of business. It's shutting its servers down. You can still use the device, to grow things.
But you got to water it by hand now.
But there are no more software updates. And obviously the big concern here from the FTC's standpoint is if there are no software updates, your device could become a security risk if you keep it online. Ultimately, most smart home devices, and you were asking about advice here, they should still do what they're supposed to do, even if they don't have an internet connection. Yeah. That is a key thing you should always bear in mind.
There is one issue, though, which Stacey points out. It's one thing if your doorbell, isn't getting updates, or maybe a thermostat, that would be, or your garden isn't getting updates. It's another thing entirely if your router is not getting
Wi-Fi
updates.
router, yes, that's
in
the
fact,
one.
we talked about
definitely.
this on security, and that's considered a smart IoT device. We talked about this on Security Now last Tuesday because D-Link there's a 0-day exploit on D-Link routers, which were very widely sold. And D-Link has no update for it. They're out of service.
Yeah.
But lots of people, hundreds of thousands of people are still using them.
And when you go and buy your Wi-Fi router, just like when you went and bought your Ring doorbell, it didn't occur to you that this isn't going to work. And the difference here between, say, our smartphones or our laptops or our computers, which you kind of feel like probably aren't going to live with you forever. It's, they're consumables, is that a lot of the things you put into your house, you expect will last the length of the house, if your time in the house, doorbells, washing machines, fridges, they used to last 10, 15, 20 years. Obviously things have changed a little bit, but with technology, but the expectation for most consumers is that a device that you buy to put into your house, that sort of infrastructure for your house, is going to last a long time. And we're just starting to hit this point where people are realizing, oh no, there is an expiration date, because if the company decides, like D-Link did, that they no longer want to support this product, it's just no longer going to work. Or if, devices that may still do their original function, but if you keep them online and they're not getting software updates, become a threat vector, which is obviously a big concern in the smart home. But you also, if you have a smart thermostat, it may still work, but you may lose your features that you were using, like learning thermostats that predict when you're going to need to get warmer or cooler. Those features go away. You've paid a premium for those features, and now they're gone because the company has decided to stop supporting them. So ultimately, the FTC here, this is more sort of just an opening sort of gambit. It looks like we're going to start looking into this more seriously, although they do think they pointed out in this blog post that these companies may be breaking the law or the Magnuson-Moss Warranty Act. So basically, consumer devices that cost more than $15 should, have a warranty. And if you're not providing support and not telling the consumer how long you're going to provide that support for, they could be in violation of this act. So we may see the FTC do something here. I think ultimately what we will start to see now is that companies hopefully will start thinking, okay, we need to think about this, because they need to think it's not just companies like Amazon or Ring big companies like that, you probably feel a bit more comfortable buying a product from because they're probably not going out of business in the next 5 to 10 years, but it depends. You know,
they do kill products. Yeah.
You never know.
Regularly,
They kill
yeah.
products.
Yeah.
They do kill products regularly, but to their credit, they do keep the support largely for, I mean, there is a few examples of not, like the Nest the Nest Secure
Right.
alarm system.
Right.
They did
Yeah.
kill that. But the bigger companies, Amazon has killed products, but then it's given consumers their money back. You know,
It's
they've
understandable. I mean, you make a product, you're not going to support it for 100 years.
But that's the question, though. How long should they? What
Right.
is a reasonable amount of time? And
7
consumers
years?
should be aware.
Yeah.
And that's the key
That was
here. The
always a
consumer is
fight with
not
us
aware.
at Apple because so we would have a 5-year functioning plan, right? And then we had a 7-year obsolescence plan. But, you know, there was time I'm at the bar, somebody would come in with a 2012 Square, you know, G4 PowerBook, favorite PowerBook ever, by the way, the tiny
Beautiful.
one. And, you know, it works. And, you know, and it's like, well, I don't need a new one. I'm like, well, how can you still use this? They're like, I just write. Like, I write
Most
grants,
people,
you know,
I don't
I
buy
write
something
books.
thinking, oh, I'm going to have to replace it in 5 years. No, most people
Yeah.
don't do that.
No.
And by the way, Apple still does not say if you buy a new iPhone today, how long you're guaranteed security updates for it. They don't.
At least
They've been
they're
good
better
for
than the
about
Android people.
5 or 6 generations, but it's not.
Yeah,
you're
but
right.
it's
They
not.
never really
They don't say. Android now does, right?
weird.
Google does, and Samsung does, and I
More
think
and more
that's-
companies are doing that, and I think we'll see
You
it
need
come
to.
into the smart
You
home.
need
But this
to.
is also one area where Matter is addressing this problem long term because Matter is a local protocol, and it's also open source. So if your device works with Matter, even if the business goes out of business or shuts down support for that specific product, you will still be able to, it will still work on your home network. And because it's open source, there's the potential that someone, might be able, this is one thing that I heard Stacey say a lot, and I agree with, is if your company's going out of business or if you're shutting a product down, open source the API, let other people be able to, keep the product going. If small communities, I mean, we had an entire company that went out of business, and the users got together and took
that
all of the
Wemo?
data.
What was that? I forgot
No,
the name.
I'm trying to remember the
I'm trying to
name.
remember.
It
would
begins
begin
with an I.
I think.
Yeah.
Pardon?
It was an AI bot, right?
No, I'm thinking
No,
of,
I have that. The Osmo. I have that over here.
No.
this
Yeah.
was a home automation company.
Yeah, Wemo. It was like Wemo.
It wasn't Wemo. They've been around even longer than them. Oh,
Wizzo.
totally.
Woo woo.
The
Something
name
like
has
that.
escaped me.
Those are
But
all
the users bought the company and kept it afloat and brought it
Awesome.
back online. And to be able, so these products are going to have a lifespan, obviously. But a consumer-
Insteon? Is
that's
that it?
Thank you,
Yeah,
Insteon.
Thank you to Richard
You
Campbell.
know, it's very
in our-
much like
He's listening.
TiVo was too, right? TiVo was almost dead in the water, and the people were like, "No!" People like
We
Leo
want it-
and I, who had several, we were like, "You can't get rid of TiVo."
I
We
wrote a
just fell in
book
love with this
about
thing.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it's a very similar sort of thing.
By the way, if there's anything shorter lived than an IoT device, it's a tech book. They are do not write tech books. The lifespan
Well, especially
is
about
very
like
brief.
niche categories. Like I've never had a TiVo or like DVR. Like that whole phase of entertainment. And I'm a whole media guy, so just wild to me. But to what you're saying, to what we're talking about here, would be nice to see more regulations around this, at least in terms of guaranteeing warranties, or at least offline access, offline capabilities.
I'd
when
like to
you're
introduce
not
you to Leo Laporte's Guide to TiVo.
on. I remember that.
That's great.
Thanks to
with
Gareth
hands
Brandwin who helped me on that. Yeah. Technical accuracy verified by weaknees.com. They were actually the primary source for this. This was actually on how to hack the TiVo 1.0, which,
I'm sure TiVo loved that.
Oh, and by the way,
Yeah.
look what it came with in the book. It came with a CD inside. Yeah. Just what you wanted. Oh, that's history, huh? Isn't that ridiculous? Is TiVo still around? Yes. Replay went away though, right? That was the one that died. Well, good. I would love to see this. I think that we need to know and we need to think about it. It's good for consumers to be aware of it because it's not just them. When your router becomes a security flaw or even your doorbell, it could affect the internet as a whole, right? It could be used as a botnet and all sorts of things. So this is a very serious issue. There's also an article from The Verge you mentioned. FTC is changing its telemarketing rules. Okay, get this. If you called a tech support scam number, they couldn't protect you. They could only go after them if they called you. So why, you might wonder, you see all these pop-ups that say, oh, your computer's infected, call us, because there was no way to get after these guys if you called them. The FTC has finally finalized amendments to the telemarketing sales rule, which makes it easier to protect consumers who are tricked into paying scam tech support companies. They could always go after them if they called you, but they couldn't go after them if you called them. Unbelievable.
That's great stuff. Have you guys seen the movie The Beekeeper?
No.
Yes.
Jason Statham movie.
Oh my God.
What
That's
is
what
it?
you want
Tell me.
to
I
do
wanna
to
see it
every
now.
tech support
It is
company.
about Jason Statham fighting, like basically taking down a phishing scam company who
that
harmed
sounds
taking
good.
it
that he loved.
down.
Taking it down.
Physically.
So, if you want
When
some like
Jason
good
Statham
cathartic,
takes you down, you
is the beekeeper.
you're taken.
but no, that movie's a big fun time, and I think the way
I'll
they
watch that.
visualize like the phishing scam companies and how like slimy they are, it feels really good. It feels really cathartic to see him punch those people in the face.
According to The Verge, people over 60 are 5 times more likely to be a victim of these scams.
Especially after midnight.
3 in the
Especially on
morning
Instagram.
on Instagram. What? I need to fix my computer. Let me call you right back. $175 million in reported losses. I'm sure it's more than that. Earlier this year, the FTC reported fake Geek Squad. You ever get one of those Geek Squad pop-ups? Or actually, I got text messages. Almost, gosh, I thought, oh, it must be real. It's the Geek Squad. And that they topped the list of fraud. $15 million lost to these clowns pretending to be the Geek Squad.
Gotta call
And
Jason Statham.
call Jason. Let's get him in here with his sawed-off shotgun.
Yeah.
One more break, and then we're going to wrap it up, believe it or not. I don't want to go. This is too much fun. I would just hang out with you guys anytime, anyway. I love it. Devindra Hardawar from Engadget, Jennifer Patterson-Toohey from The Verge, Doc Rock from Hawaii. It's good to have all 3 of you. You're wearing the Man United shirt because you're a supporter. Are you a soccer hooligan, Doc Rock?
Die hard. I was really born in the wrong place because, like, I've been at this. So when MISL first came to the U.S., I lived nearby RFK Stadium in D.C., so I got to go watch the Diplomats games. And back then, security just paid no attention to little kids sneaking in. So we watched all the Diplomat games. At that time, they had this guy named Johan Cruyff. Turns out to be one of the greatest soccer players to ever play. So I've even seen a match between Johan Cruyff and Pele. So I got addicted way back then. And when TV started showing, EPL here in the U.S., I was like hooked. And yeah, that's the end.
Nice.
I've been like
it is the most boring game. I don't know why they call it the beautiful game and all that because it's just
because you
nothing
watch the
happens. They're
American
running
version.
up and down,
No,
running
son.
back and forth, running.
Jennifer, help me, please.
I know. It is it's way more interesting than American football.
You probably like cricket too, though. Let's be fair, Jennifer.
No. So the problem is, like, if you only compare it to what you see in the I forgot MSL or whatever we have in.
I
the US.
watched the World
Americans
Cup.
not
I
play
watched the
soccer.
best stuff. It's still
The World Cup's not the best. You need to watch the EPL. Just trust me.
Why is
Watch
it better?
the
Isn't it still
EPL.
people running up and down and up and down?
No, there's finesse and there's speed and there's
If you
strategy.
don't like
and
people
then there's
running, then
flow.
sports in general not a good idea.
This is
Yeah, if you
why
don't like
I
sports
like
balls,
the NFL because they run for like a foot and then some
And then they
300-pound
stop
guy
and-
slams him to the
Thank you.
ground.
Get him to listen. Here's the one. Okay, I'm nothing
just
against
stops.
advertisers. I love advertisers. They pay me.
boring.
But every 5 seconds it stops. In footy, we stop once in
can't.
the
One
middle.
time.
Because-
There's no
One time.
breaks.
No. So that's why they
Just go.
plaster the field with advertisements.
100%. But guess who makes more money?
I
So
know.
we doing it wrong.
Does soccer
With
make
the
more money?
commer-
Really?
Absolutely.
Than the NFL?
Yes.
Help me out here, Devindra. This is sacrilege.
Highest paid athlete in the world. Go.
Okay, you're
Cristiano
right.
Ronaldo.
Yeah.
180 million a year.
I used to
getting
play. I
close.
used to play
Contract
soccer.
for
Soccer.
210.
It is so much more fun to play than to watch. Like that's
It is. It's fun to play. I love
Yeah.
I love running up and down the field. Yeah, that's fun. I just don't want
It
to watch
is a
somebody
religion
else
in
do
the
it.
rest of the world, though. I mean,
know.
football
Yes.
is like it's a cultural thing. It's so much more than America has changed a lot in the last decade. Like it's become much more popular here. When I moved here
they
20
love
years
soccer
ago,
now. Yeah.
and I used to have to do pay-per-view just to watch Premier League games.
Apple
And-
TV
Who's
has
your
just
team?
gone
Who's
crazy.
your ta-
But
your
Apple
team?
does
Newcastle.
Apple does this
love
American.
Newcastle.
I would
I'm
love
not
to
allowed
see
to, but
the
I like
Premier
the fight.
League. Is that better? It's better. It's better soccer. The Premier League.
Yeah, Premier League is on NBC, dude. What are you talking about?
totally
That's
know.
thanks to that silly Apple show with the guy with the mustache.
No, So you know what's
It was
funny?
it was
That
around
show
before
started
that,
as a
but-
skit. Yeah,
I know.
that show started as
I
a
know.
skit. The day NBC bought the
To
rights
mock
Premier League,
soccer.
it was a skit to teach U.S. people about soccer. And then 10 years later, it became the TV show. And so, yeah, it's got even bigger. But I thank you, NBC, for finally, because I used to jump through hoops. Satanta, IPTV,
Oh,
getting ripped off on
Satanta!
these
Oh my
grids.
gosh, that was terrible. Ugh.
Good Jesus.
Yeah,
The
it
only
was
thing
painful.
good about Satanta was the special one, the puppets with Wayne Rooney. and oh my God, they were so good.
I remember when I first lived in the States, I had to go and buy the Sunday newspapers to find out the scores. And they were 3 days late because it took that long to fly them over from the UK. So this was when I was
That was
18.
a long
That was a long time ago.
Wow.
So long time ago.
Wow.
But yeah, it's a much better now. And one day America will win the World Cup, but probably not in our lifetimes.
Not until we get rid
Came
of
close,
sending
didn't
our
we?
guys
We've gotten to the
university
finals. Haven't we gotten to the finals?
No.
Never.
No.
Women.
The
women,
problem is our
but the
guys
men.
go to
Women are great.
university.
Women have
The
won.
women are good. The women are good.
The women
yes.
are the best in the world. Yeah.
Yes.
But yeah,
Well,
But the
that's
men-
all that matters.
develop a club system. Once we develop a club system, we'll catch up. There's no way we're going to do it sending our guys to play college.
Well, you
ball.
keep putting all the soccer players on the football teams kicking the goals. So
Yeah, that's true.
problem.
The most ridiculous profession. Yes, I come out for a second every few hours to kick one ball
skill.
once. It's a skill. It's highly skilled.
skill.
Yeah.
Our kicker, we got a guy off the street because we had so many injuries in the 49ers. They got a guy off the street. He kicks the ball, kicks it off the other end. The guy runs it back. And for some reason decides he can also tackle and tries to tackle the runner, injures himself, and he's gone. It was like he had one shot and that was it. They should only kick. That's the rule. All right. You're watching This Week in Tech and This Week in Soccer Ignorance. And I apologize to the entire world, which thinks I'm a fool for not loving the beautiful game.
I'm sure it's more fun if you're at a pub with your friends.
You know why
Yeah.
they call it the beautiful game? Johan Cruyff. Thank you. I stand corrected.
We could do This Week in Soccer.
Otani
in.
makes
Let's go.
$700 million.
Let's go,
I
Jay.
think that's a little bit more, but anyway, I'm not gonna believe. There's no look at baseball's even worse, and I will acknowledge that it's over for baseball. It's sad, but it's over. So I'm making enemies. It's thank you for watching the show. We appreciate it. Now that I've made enemies of all of you, would you like to join the club? Club Twit. It is what keeps this show and all of the shows we do on the air. I am so thrilled with the success of Club Twit. Thank you to our more than 12,000 members. You have made it possible for us to not only stay alive, you're covering half our payroll now. Without Club Twit, we would have had to let people go. We would have had to shut down shows. But I'd like to do more, and with your help, we can. If you watch our shows, if you enjoy what you see, and you'd like us to keep going, I'd like to invite you to join the club. We keep the cost very low, $7 a month. I mean, that's practically nothing. And for that, you get so much ad-free versions of all of our shows, access to the Club Twit Discord, which is a great hang with some smart, interesting people. You also get to participate in our kind of Club Twit events, including Micah. He does his crafting course, so cute. He's doing his needlepoint or his crewel work while other people are doing their Legos and so forth. We have Stacy's book club, speaking of Stacy Higginbotham, coming up in a couple of weeks. We're doing a James S.A. Corey, his latest novel. I can't wait to talk about that. Chris Marquardt does his photo assignments. We do a coffee show now with Mark Prince, the coffee geek. It's just a lot of fun to be in the club, and it helps us keep going on the air. If you're not a member, we do have some new features we should mention. One is you can get 2 weeks free just to try before you buy if you want. And when you sign up for a Club Twit, you'll get an offer code which allows you to post it everywhere you want. And if your friends join using your referral code, you get a free month. So there's another reason to join. twit.tv/Club Twit. It really helps us keep doing what we are, I think, what we do best. And we really appreciate your support. On we go with This Week in Tech. I think this will be interesting. The Supreme Court has said is probably going to take up a case about who's responsible for your piracy. Is it the ISP? It's Sony versus Cox. Sony says Cox Cable is responsible for the piracy on its network. In fact, the jury found that Cox was guilty of willful contributory infringement, and gave Sony $1 billion in damages. But the Fourth Circuit reversed the verdict, saying Cox didn't profit, so you can't charge him damages. There's a new trial. Sony and Cox are both seeking Supreme Court review. Is an ISP liable for the piracy that its customers engage in? This is mainly because the record industry for years has tried to go after customers and failed.
And the MPAA, or at least some.
Yeah, remember that?
Decide,
yeah.
This feels like sort of a last gasp of the dinosaur industry.
I
And
hope so.
It makes me so mad reading this. Because, it's not the cutting the internet off because someone copied your music. And then today you need the internet for everything. And it's,
That's true. It's more than just a luxury, isn't it?
It's not. Yeah, it's a essential part of daily life these days. And this just makes me mad. Reading this article made me mad. I'm like, and because it's the same. I mean, it goes back to, content moderation on social media. There's so many elements to this that you see throughout technology. It's like, what's the difference between the pipes and the content? Like, who's responsible for what? And the pipes, the internet should just be the pipes. And,
of course.
And we need the pipes. You can't just take them away because someone's done something on the pipes that you don't like. It's like taking away cars because someone had an accident.
or charging the phone company for those guys who call you up and scam you. It's not the phone company's fault. What scares me is that the Supreme Court is considering taking this case. What they should say is, no, the Fourth Circuit was right. There's absolutely no liability here. What are you talking about?
But the knock-on effect of this would be ridiculous.
You just know what the Supreme Court is up to.
We know it's funny. This conversation just went around. So back here, it used to be Time Warner Cable, of course, now Spectrum. And Warner is now Warner Media, but then Warner Media is AT&T. So how come they didn't get talked about in this situation? Because they're the same company at this point. They can't sue each other.
It's confusing.
You know what I mean? Like
and Sony,
so again,
right.
It was all crazy back in the day when everybody thought that the internet was going to stop you from watching TV, watching movies, listening to music. If anything, the internet increased some of the watchability of these things because we were able to, get social and build communities around Game of Thrones or House of Dragons, right? So now they've used it. Even the fact that kids today are into the Star Wars that we saw in the theater in 77.
You blaming the internet for that?
No, I'm saying the internet helped. It kept it afloat. Disney tried to ruin it.
It's true.
But somehow we figured out how to fight back and fix them and make it better. And now there's whole brand new shows that we never would have heard of. George R.R., I pray for that dude at nightly, and I'm an atheist. But I pray for him because I'm like, dude, I need you to finish the books, dude.
He's not going to finish the books. Come on, get over it. He's not going to finish the books. Dude, he's having fun.
I'm a wishful man.
He's out there partying in his Greek sailor cap, and he's not going to have it.
It's so funny that, though, this is a thing, and it's like, I agree with JBT in the sense that the industry just still are trying to hold on to something that ship sailed a long time ago. And if anything, I'm all used to be a conspiracy theorist on the fact of Napster was sort of backed by the companies that wanted albums to become singular purchase tracks. Like, I still kind of sort of believe that a little bit. And that sounds weird to say that, but it was an experiment.
How do you like I could write a novel. I got a Greek fisherman's
Dude, that
guy.
works. You got double L, right? So George double L Martin. We just
George L.L. Martin. There you
It's
go.
just a demotivational hat. Once you get it, you'll never get anything done.
I'm just going to want to party. That's all.
Yeah.
This is the new form of warfare. You remember that two cables connecting, I think, was it Lithuania to the internet were cut. Two Baltic data cables cut. And now the suspicion is on a Chinese ship, which had just been docking in Russia, dragging its anchor for 100 miles. It could have been an accident. We just, we forgot we dropped our anchor and we're just dragging it for 100 miles. They had just left the Russian Baltic port on November 15th. The question is, was the captain induced by Russian intelligence to carry out the sabotage? I have a feeling you're going to see more of this kind of, appalling sabotage. They did it with the cable, the pipeline, the underwater pipeline, and they did it with these undersea cables.
I mean, it's appalling right now already with open warfare, but this is pretty bad. This is not.
Yeah.
We're definitely to see more of this type of thing, and Russia pretending that they're not involved at all.
Yeah, we didn't do that.
It's wild.
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Well, how are you going to prove it? Meta wants to put its own cable in. They are planning to spend as much as $10 billion. Here's a story from The Verge.
Actually, no, that story is really good, but it's not the one about Meta.
Oh, what is this?
This is a story that we wrote on The Verge almost a year ago.
Oh, it's an older
about
story.
The
Okay.
underwater cables and how they repair them, which is really
I remember
hard.
this.
And this
Yes.
is why it's so scary, what this sort of infrastructure warfare, because it's really hard to repair these cables.
And it cuts
there
those
aren't very
countries
many
off.
of them.
Yeah.
Yes. And this is why Meta is creating its own
I clicked the wrong link. Here it is. Yeah. So it would only be for Facebook?
That's what it said. It was well for its services. So all of the
There is the Facebook internet. Remember, they offered that to India, and India said no, thank you.
It's the idea of no links on Instagram expanded to overall.
Holy
internet.
cow! You never leave.
You
never leave Meta's world. A 40,000 kilometer project. These are fiber optic cables that would lay under the sea, and it would basically be a private internet. Wow. Sources close to Meta confirmed the project, but this is a TechCrunch scoop. It hasn't actually been publicly announced. When completed, it would give Meta a dedicated pipe for data traffic around the world. Not a surprise. Look at this. It goes all the way from Virginia Beach and Myrtle Beach all the way around the world back to California. Holy moly. The W cable.
I mean, we
Listen,
need more
Mark,
infrastructure.
You live here part time. Could you just bring one of those cables up here? I mean, Mark,
how does Hawaii get an internet?
3 blocks away.
Does Hawaii have a subsea cable or underwater
we
cable?
have several. It's actually on the picture on the Verge article. And the funny thing is that boat, KDDI, that was my phone carrier when I went to school in Japan.
Wow.
But yeah, there's like 2 cables coming from Washington, 1 coming from California, but it's on the Verge picture if you look at it again.
That's really cool.
But because originally, I mean, a lot of people don't realize this. We were one of the first connected places because of Pearl Harbor and Schofield.
Yeah.
Right? Back when it was Milnet back in 1966.
Really?
So we've been connected for a hot minute.
Wow.
The strange thing,
look at all the cables coming out of that little island there. Look at that. Wow.
Part of the Ethernet substack was actually invented at University of Hawaii way back in the day. And then the Board of Regents didn't understand what it was going to be worth. So they were like, okay, whatever. And they gave it up to California. So I think it went to what is
Stanford,
Livermore.
Right?
Or
no,
it
it's
was
Livermore.
Berkeley.
Yeah.
It was Berkeley.
Berkeley. Okay.
And we gave up any form of residual rights or money that we would have got. And so there's a rumor, I've never checked it because I didn't want to be mad, that like they still get like a 1 cent royalty on every single MAC address ever put out. And University of Hawaii took up travel industry management.
Spin it differently. They were altruists. They realized how valuable this would be, and they decided not to profit on it, but to give it to the world for a penny, whatever, a year.
Yeah, we did the same thing with pizza recipe, which is total BS.
That is not pineapple and bacon do not belong in a pizza. Don't get me started.
Pineapple
I can't stand it. They call it a Hawaiian pizza, and I'm like, listen, bro, I'm gonna start getting mad. I'm not even Hawaiian.
If you put spam on it, maybe, but not.
Yeah, that would be
Canadian bacon and pineapple.
As we say in Hawaii, polole kala, you're absolutely right.
Okay.
But the infrastructure, the concept of these infrastructure attacks is really scary, though.
It is terrifying.
There is how easily we can be, kneecapped, and not just this one. I mean, obviously, deep sea cables feel like quite a challenge, but obviously they figured out a way to get them. But just getting any infrastructure in America, we are so dependent on our infrastructure, and so much of it now is more easily hackable. It seems like that I feel like that's the biggest danger that's facing this country right now. And there's not just our smart home devices that expire and turn into botnets, but our entire infrastructure in this country.
Gather your chickens, gather your home batteries.
Yes,
this is our future.
Gather your pineapple.
You gotta have your own infrastructure.
Doc Rock, Rich Campbell, who is of course the host of Windows Weekly. Richard is a proud Canadian. He says, "I didn't know this, that Hawaiian pizza was invented in Toronto."
Oh, this makes sense.
So, like everything else, you can blame Canada. It's their fault. It's their fault.
Yo.
Doc Rock is at youtube.com at Doc Rock. He is also the director of strategic partners from Ecamm and has been instrumental in helping us set up this remote system that we use now, including Ecamm. I really appreciate everything in Zoom. It's you know what? Just tell those Ecamm folks to work with the Zoom folks. If we can get them together in one place, we'd really have something. But we have managed to make it work.
Kind of sort of how it happened, believe it or not.
Yeah.
Alex introduced me to Andy.
No.
At NAB a couple years back. Yeah.
Wow.
And then I knew who Andy was, but at that time he wasn't completely Zoom yet. And Alex had introduced me to Andy.
He invented Zoom ISO and sold it to Zoom and became a Zoom.
There you go. Yeah. Now you know it. And so during that conversation, I was like, hold on, wait, this would be kind of cool. But then when I was messing with Zoom ISO, I'm like, my users, no way they could do the Zoom ISO thing because I know what I'm doing and it was work, but I liked it. it. And then when Andy got pulled over to Zoom, I was like, okay, now it's going to get easier. And so I was like, Andy, you need to meet Ken and Glenn. And then they started talking and they became friends and so on and so on. And I was like that girl with the old shampoo commercial. Fabergé.
I told two friends and then they told two friends. And
yeah. Oh, that was Farrah Fawcett now that I think about it.
That's how that stuff spreads. Was it Farrah Fawcett in that old ad?
It was Farrah Fawcett, yeah.
I'll be damned.
Yeah. And then, so that's how we got here. And telling you the Zoom and Ecamm sort of collaboration, it just changes.
It's been wonderful for us.
It makes it so easy. So easy.
It's a lifesaver. We use it for all the big shows, including this one. Thank you, Doc. And your relationship with us is fantastic. We're very happy. Same thing with Jennifer Pattison Toohey. She appears every month with Micah Sargent on Tech News Weekly and really ought to appear a lot more on our show. She's just fantastic. At theverge.com. She is Smart Home Mama, but I bet you have a X account called Chicken Mama somewhere, just waiting to be launched, right? She's got the chicken mug.
That's a good one. I might have to think about that one.
Maybe. Just think about that a little bit. We'll all be coming to you for the eggs. Thank you, Jennifer. Great to have you on. I appreciate it.
Great to be here.
And Devindra Hardawar, who is my shadow when I'm not here, Devindra will be, and that's what we love. He's been a great fill-in for me. senior editor in Engadget, and always a great guy. You're going to CES. You're crazy, but go ahead, have a good time.
I'm crazy. I'm looking forward to it, but also doing a lot of like prepping for end of year film stuff too. So it's a crazy time of the year. Yeah.
I just saw Conclave, and I really liked it.
Incredible movie.
Yeah. But so Devindra hosts a really good podcast called Slash Film.
The Filmcast,
The Filmcast, I'm sorry, was part of Slash Film.
Was part of Slash Film, yeah.
And so we always end up talking about movies a little bit. But I was telling Lisa, I'm starting to feel like movies aren't enough anymore. I'm getting spoiled by these 5-part, 6-part, 7-part series.
Yeah.
And I think Conclave would have been better in 3 or 4.
I kind of disagree. I kind of like
really?
Conclave is such a good example of a movie that is nice and tight and just
it's
like
very tight.
You're in and you're out. Whereas that could easily be a 6-episode miniseries, and you'd be like, you ran out of plot 3 episodes into the show, and it
was a great mystery.
Yeah,
and a
it was a
fantastic twist at the end. I just really enjoyed. We watched that.
Good stuff.
Night.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
If you like that, check out The Young Pope, because that was a limited series.
Loved The Young
Max.
Pope with Jude Law. So that was good.
Yeah.
And I told Lisa, I said, this is just like The Shoes of the Fisherman, which came out in 1968 with Anthony Quinn. And if you haven't seen that, you should see that and Conclave, because they're both about the papal succession conclave that they do when a pope dies. Anyway,
I think they need to get rid of movies that have 2 parts, though, because I went to see Wicked and I'm like, through another one.
Did you know ahead of time that it was going to be?
I did. But I'm glad I knew ahead of time, because I would have been really mad.
Pissed off. I was pissed when Dune ended, and it said like, wait till next year, you'll find out what. No.
It's tough. But I just saw Wicked too. It's like I was not looking forward to that at all. I'm not a musical guy, but it's John Chu kicked
I love musicals. Saw Wicked in the theater. In fact, I think I saw it on Broadway with Idina Menzel.
Mm-hmm. I saw it in London with Idina Menzel.
Yeah, and Chenoweth, Kristen Chenoweth.
Good.
It was a good show.
Yeah.
But it was not 2 parts.
Mm-hmm.
No, but it was very long.
It was very long. They think they brought in more stuff from the book, and like it's more. They're building up like a broader universe,
Oh no!
Because
there's been way too much Wicked advertising as is.
There
my
has.
goodness, I know.
If you like tight shows, Leo, this is going to sound crazy, and I swear I'm not shilling for JPT over there. You want to get BritBox.
I was going to say,
got
if you
BritBox.
like, that's exactly what I was going to say.
Dude.
I love
so
BritBox.
much good stuff on BritBox.
So good.
'Cause I like sort of crime TV. It's crazy, but Law and Order style. But I'm really over Dick Wolf because he has come
Wrap
to the
it all
conclusion.
up in one episode. We need 7
he comes
episodes.
to the conclusion
for one
that
murder.
Americans don't know anything, so he gives all the clues in the front. I know exactly what's happening within 3 minutes. On BritBox, you watch the good cop shows like Tower. Tower's incredible.
Oh, I'm going to write that down.
The Passenger I just finished watching, which is not really
great
a cop
show.
show. It's kind
It's
of
a great channel for
sci-fi thing.
mysteries.
It's
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Like you're in
I'm a
there
fan
and you
of,
think you got it down, and then they'd be like, pat right in the face.
I
No,
like-
you don't. You're wrong.
I like rural stories like Doc Martin and All Creatures Great
Yes.
and Small, where everything's just
so
quiet
good.
and calm. And the worst thing that happens is Jennifer's chickens got into Devindra's garden. And
That's the Passenger. So you'll love that. That's
I like
basically
that.
sort of describes
Very
the Passenger.
slow.
Yes.
Thank you, all 3 of you. What a great show. So much fun talking to you. We'll have you all back very soon, because this was my great pleasure. We really appreciate it. Thanks to all of you who are watching. As I mentioned, we stream on 8 platforms now: YouTube, Twitch, Kick, X, Facebook, LinkedIn, TikTok. You can watch anywhere. If you want to watch live every Sunday, 2 p.m. Pacific, 5 p.m. Eastern, 2200 UTC. But you don't have to watch live. I know it's not convenient for a lot of people because it's a podcast. You can download it and watch it whenever you want. Get copies of this show and all the shows we do at our website, twit.tv. All the shows also have a YouTube channel. So if you go to twit.tv, click the button that says This Week in Tech, you'll see a link to our YouTube channel. That's a great place to get the video and to share clips. So if there's something you saw, like you say, oh, I really got to tell my friends why soccer is the beautiful game. Gunther Grundhoff said so. Then you can clip that and send it to them. I'm going to make Doc mad. And you can send it to them, and then they will say, "Oh, this show is good. I got to watch more of that guy in the Greek fishing hat." What else? Oh, yes. You can subscribe in your favorite podcast client. That way you'll get it automatically. Any podcast client, search for This Week in Tech or Twit and you'll have it. Thanks to our club members who very much made this show possible. I really appreciate it. I'm going to, if you're around at 9 p.m. Pacific, do a little more coding in the advent of code. I'll stream that on all of our channels. And I will see you next week on This Week in Tech. As I have been saying now for 20 years. This show's been going on for almost 20 years. Another twit is in the can.
This is
Bye-bye.
amazing.
Doing the twit.